Hello and welcome to Slooh. Slooh.com, the community observatory. We are here in Kenya and around the world broadcasting this live total eclipse of the sun. It is going to be such a wonderful event. Now we've got a couple of smaller problems. We've lost one feed in the Canary Islands, which is a bit of a shame, but that was only going to be a partial eclipse. Where I am sitting right now is in the Kenyan outback in one of the national parks, and a little bit later on in the show, we've got 3.5 hours of live coverage for you today. We are going to be showing you live images from here of the partial phases of the total eclipse all the way through to totality, and it's totality which is what everybody looks forward to with an eclipse. But anyway, I'm just going to tell you very briefly who we are, otherwise you just won't know. Slooh, we operate some robotic observatories in the Canary Islands, and I'm actually here with our partners at that site. It's run by the Institute of Astrophysics in the Canary Islands, and we have our online telescopes, and anybody can use those telescopes. Now, we don't use those for the solar eclipse because those are for nighttime objects, so you can point the telescopes at any galaxies or nebulae or anything else you like, planets, and take wonderful online images. And we've also got an app as well. We're not going to do too much advertising in this show, by the way, but this is, I'm genuinely just trying to tell you exactly what it is that Slooh does. We've got an iPad app that you can download, shows you the nighttime sky, and you can actually control the telescopes using that for your own image of the Orion Nebula, and you can actually get an image of totality today if you want to do that as well. But anyway, what is it then that we're here for? Well, we've traveled to Kenya. There's a large group of us. We were invited by our partners here, the Gloria Project and EAC. And we've been traveling for quite a long time to get to this very thin pathway, which is totality. So it's the shadow that the moon casts when it passes in front of the sun, and that crosses the Earth. Hopefully you're seeing a map at the moment. By the way, today I'm not being able to see the images that you're seeing because I'm actually broadcasting to you over satellite, so we have to be a little bit careful with the bandwidth requirements. So if it's a little bit disjointed today, please understand what we're doing. I'm sitting here in the middle of nowhere in Kenya, which is on the eclipse path. I'm broadcasting over a satellite, so the satellite communication is beaming up to the satellite, back down to our guys in America, and then it's going out to the broadcast. So we will have technical difficulties today, but we will keep going. If you hear a recorded segment from Bob Berman, who's going to join us shortly, that's because we probably hit a slight technical snag with the communications, but we will be back, and you'll still see the show. We just might lose audio, so the live images will start. Now, we were hoping to bring you live images now of the partial phase in the Canary Islands, and actually it's at maximum just about now in Europe, in the parts of Europe who can see this eclipse. Now, please don't look at the sun unless you've got proper eclipse glasses or proper filters, and they have to be in good condition as well. Don't use them if they've got scratches or anything like that. But if you're listening in Europe, and I've already seen actually that we have got viewers from all around the world. I can see North America, South America. I can see loads of places in Europe, North and South, and Russia, China, we've got, and of course our good friends down in Australia and New Zealand, they always watch us as well. Anyway, we haven't got those images because the observatory in Tenerife today is raining, would you believe? It's actually the worst time of year for us there. So, but that was, as I say, only the partial phase. Now we have got some fantastic partners as well who have done the same horrendously difficult trip, and they've gone to a small country on the west coast of Africa, which is called Gabon. And they're actually doing the same as I'm doing, but they're doing it in the jungle. So goodness knows what conditions they're having there. We made contact with them yesterday, but we haven't had contact with them since. So we're hoping they're safe, and it's just a communications problem. But a little bit later, when the partial phase starts in Gabon, so when that shadow of the moon hits Gabon on the west coast of Africa, we should have some live images coming in from there. If that feed fails, then in approximately 1 hour's time, that's all we've got here in Kenya before the eclipse starts. So in 1 hour's time, the moon is going to start to cross the face of the sun. And that, I tell you, is when everybody here starts to get very, very excited. So we're sitting under around a few tents and stuff like this, and we keep having quite a few visitors. There are loads of tourists that have come up, and actually a lot of Kenyan people as well have come here. Some of the wonderful tribes and and the colours that we see here. We're going to talk a little bit later about the sights, sounds and smells of Africa since we've been here. So we really want to give you not just the live images, but we want to give you a real flavour today of what it is to do to chase an eclipse. And we're going to tell you about the equipment that we use. We're going to tell you about the travel arrangements. We're going to tell you about the horrible roads. We're going to tell you about the giraffes and the zebras and just about everything else that we've seen on the way here. And we are also going to explain to you in very basic terms what an eclipse is. And it's going to be my co-host Bob Berman, who is actually at an observatory in Chile. The eclipse isn't visible from Chile, but Bob's just down there at the moment on other business. And Bob's our astronomy expert. He's going to be joining us. And if you've listened to Bob's shows before, you'll know that Bob has a wonderful rhetoric and a wonderful way of talking about astronomy and explaining some of the astronomical phenomena. And eclipses actually is one of his particular key expertise. So I will leave you at various points during the broadcast, especially I'm going to be hopping off in a couple of minutes time to do another live broadcast for our Spanish partners here. And we're going to, because we haven't got Bob Berman on the show yet, we're going to play just a 5-minute audio recording that Bob did just in case we had any problems. But I'm going to be back with you in 10 minutes. So I'm going to be back with you at 10 past the hour, right? And until my colleagues here in Spain, wait 1 minute. Have I got 5 minutes before we go? Oh, we've got another 5 minutes before I have to leave you. So I'm going to have to fill in now. Gosh, that's caught me out. Another 5 minutes. Oh.
Yes. Hi, Michael. This is Bob Berman, and we are covering the total eclipse of the sun. We're covering it live. I'm stationed here in Chile, where we're actually on an expedition for Comet ISON. But while we're here, we are monitoring our Slooh team, Paul Cox, who has traveled to the middle of Africa. And the eclipse is underway, and we're going to bring you continuing coverage of this event. This great live event. A total eclipse of the sun only happens 3 times in 4 years. And when it does, a narrow path of darkness, the moon shadow, sweeps over a limited part of the world. A narrow ribbon that can be as wide as, as wide as 160 miles, but sometimes only a few miles wide. In this particular case, the moon shadow, which tapers like a chopstick to only be a few dozen miles wide, is sweeping across Africa. And we are excited by the sky conditions, which at first looked cloudy, but now look to be brightening up. And we have every hope of bringing you the live totality. This is when the sky turns dark and the stars come out. Not all the stars, because an eclipse, contrary to popular, an image of it is not as dark as locking yourself in a closet or not paying your electric bill. You know, it's more like the brightness of a full moon. But nonetheless, the brightest stars come out in the sky. But more importantly, pink prominences leap off the solar limb, and the sun's corona streams into the sky, telling us a lot about what's going on in the sun. And that's why total solar eclipses have been important scientifically from the dawn of astronomy. As we stand by staring at the sun, images from different parts of the world, we're bringing you that live photography, Solar Astronomer Britain, and other live feeds from around the world. So it's really a multi-national, multi-continent production that's going on here. So this is Slooh currently, and I'm located in South America, and the Slooh team is actually scattered around the world, joined together to bring you this coverage. So this is Bob Berman. Let's continue to watch. Okay.
Welcome to Slooh's live coverage of the great 2013 total solar eclipse. We are covering this from Africa. Our technical officer has been trekking through the jungle. This is hard to believe. It sounds like something from the 19th century, but we've actually done it. And that's because this total solar eclipse is a very unusual one. They're always hard to get to because the track of totality is a narrow ribbon, only about 100 miles wide. Now, if during your life you've seen total lunar eclipses and partial solar eclipses, well, that's normal because we get some kind of eclipse every year or two from every location. But a total solar eclipse, that's a different story, because there, the umbral or darkest shadow of the moon upon Earth is a narrow path or ribbon that sweeps over a very specific part of our planet, and you have to be right there in that track in order to see it. And what you see makes it vastly different from any other kind of eclipse. During a lunar eclipse, even a total lunar eclipse, the moon passes into Earth shadow and turns first dark, then seems to go through a series of odd phases, and you'll see that for yourself when Slooh brings you the live lunar eclipse coming up this next April 15th. And then the moon turns a coppery red. It's fascinating. The other major kind of eclipse is when the sun gets partially blocked by the moon, or perhaps even centrally blocked, but the moon happens to lie too far away from Earth at that part of its orbit, so that there remains a ring of fire surrounding it. In all these eclipses, you can call it interesting, fascinating, but few would honestly call it a life-changing spectacle. A total solar eclipse, on the other hand, which does not require eye protection, because you can look at it directly with just the naked, unprotected eye, is when the stars come out in the daytime, when pink flames of nuclear fire leap into the sky surrounding the sun like geysers of flame, when prominences sometimes even detach themselves from the the visible solar surface or photosphere, and you can see it only because the lunar limb, the moon's limb, is inky black and blocks out enough of the sun to make this a safe prospect. Also at this time, the sun's glowing corona or atmosphere splays across the sky much more, to a greater extent than anyone would imagine. People think of this as something surrounding the sun, but it actually goes far away from the solar disk, following magnetic field lines. And these look different at different stages of the sun's sunspot cycle. In its 11-year cycle, although this past cycle has been very strange and has been more like 14 years, the magnetic field of the sun has gone from much stronger around the equator to much more evenly spread around the solar disk. And usually at the time of sunspot maximum, it is a more symmetrical or even corona around the sun. That's what we would expect this year, because this is 2013. This is the year of solar max. However, because this has been an odd solar cycle, with the sun generally weaker, wimpier, fewer storms than normal, who knows what we'll see around the sun today. And thus this eclipse is not just unpredictable, but it's scientifically useful. It tells us what's going on in that nearest star, which of course intimately affects our own planet. And no other kind of eclipse offers this kind of scientific usefulness, as well as sheer spectacle. People who see total solar eclipses often weep or make strange animal-like sounds, which they certainly would not during a partial solar eclipse or an annular solar eclipse or a partial lunar eclipse or even a total lunar eclipse. No, this kind of eclipse is special, and that's why Slooh is covering it by sending a team all the way to Africa to look for it. And this is a difficult eclipse as well. The totality itself can last as long as 7 minutes, although we will not have a 7-minute eclipse anytime this century. Typically 2, 3, 4 minutes, but not this time. At maximum, this eclipse is less than 1.5 minutes long. But as the moon's shadow goes across the steamy central Atlantic Ocean and makes landfall in Central Africa, unfortunately, even that 1.5 minute long totality is very unlikely to be seen, because this is a cloudy part of the world. As the moon's shadow moves eastward, leaving behind civilization and towns and hotels, by the way, it gets to statistically clearer weather until finally, when it reaches certain parts of Kenya, it reaches a zone with a 50-50, or perhaps even better than that, chance of the sun being in the clear during these precious seconds of totality. And that's what it has become, because by then the eclipse length has fallen off to less than 15 seconds. So this will be a short totality, making it arguably even more precious than any other eclipse. And that is what our team is going out there to capture, using satellite equipment, special solar viewing equipment. They've been camping out, traveling by Range Rover, going along tracks that there's not even roads there, having to ford streams. This is really something right out of the movies, all to bring you live coverage of this eclipse. So stand by, keep watching. As the eclipse progresses, we will be waiting for those precious seconds of totality. It's about an hour-long series of partial phases. We expect the sun to go in and out of clouds during the partial phases, but it's totality that we're really waiting for. So stand by as this eclipse unfolds live here at Slooh. I'm Bob Berman.
Hello and welcome back. It's Paul Cox here, Slooh.com Community Observatory. We are bringing you the Slooh Hybrid Solar Eclipse from Kenya. It's absolutely amazing. We have got such a lineup for you today. We've got special guests, we've got explanations of what a solar eclipse is, we've got live images for you from various places. And just to let you know, we should have had live images from the Canary Islands at this particular moment, because this is the maximum partial phase in a lot of Europe today, who's seeing a partial eclipse. But we've come down to Kenya because this is one of the best places to see the totality of this eclipse. So anyway, I am very, very pleased to introduce to you our co-host today, Mr. Bob Berman, astronomy author and Slooh astronomer. Bob, can you hear me?
I can indeed, Paul. It's very interesting. We're on many different continents. I'm here in Chile, leading an expedition to look at the comet, and the Slooh hopes to bring live images of the comet later on, a few days from now. But at the moment, the important thing, of course, is that the moon is passing in front of the sun, a total solar eclipse, one of the rare and certainly most spectacular events that nature ever produces. Paul, first, tell me, what are the conditions that you're undergoing right now?
Well, Bob, they are mixed conditions. We've been on a bit of a roller coaster ride as far as our emotions are concerned today. It started off, I woke up, I had the windows open on my tent, and I was looking at the stars, and then the sun rose, and it was a crystal blue sky, and the stars were absolutely wonderful last night, by the way. And then, shortly after dawn, some light fluffy clouds popped over, but they were not going to cause a problem for an eclipse. In fact, I sometimes think that it adds a bit of depth to the images when you see a cloud passing in front of the sun, as long as it's not during totality. But now, a little bit later, the cloud worsened and it really got quite thick enough to the point where I couldn't actually set up our equipment. But now it's cleared again. We've got white fluffy clouds crossing over the sky. So at the moment we are optimistic, I would say.
And the partial eclipse, which is sweeping over Europe at this moment, a deep partial eclipse of the sun, that means that the moon shadow is progressing eastward, as it always does. In this case, I believe east and south, and then east again, because as the Earth turns and as the moon goes around the Earth, we live in a one-way solar system where the sun's rotation, moon's revolution around Earth, and everything is same direction. So the moon shadow always sweeps across Earth's face in that direction. Unfortunately, when it is a tropical eclipse, as this one is, at the same time, Earth is rotating in the same direction. Now, that normally will extend the eclipse because you're both moving in the same direction, helping keep the shadow under you. But this particular time, the moon is so far away in its elliptical oval orbit that tapering like a chopstick, its dark umbral shadow just barely reaches the Earth, producing a rather short totality. And of course, what we want everybody to realize is that while a big chunk of the world sees a partial eclipse, Europe, for example, a little tiny bit in the United States, but they've already had that. That's over. In the eastern United States, where a little tiny bit of the sun is blocked by the moon, there is nothing like totality. Totality carries all the glory and all the scientific usefulness, and that is why they've gone through so much trouble to bring you, and for you to travel, so much trouble that you've gone through to be there. In fact, tell us a little bit about some of your adventures and what it took to reach the position where you are. And indeed, where are you?
Well, we are in one of the not the Canarians. We're in Kenya today. One of the safari parks, one of the main wildlife parks that they have here, and we're in obviously the path of totality, and we're going to explain a little bit more. We're going to go right back to basics about what an eclipse is for you out there if you're not really sure exactly what happens. But what we've done is we weighed up where we should go. The eclipse, the total eclipse really only reached landfall on the west coast of Africa, and then Kenya. It does pass through Kenya and go a little bit further east, but it finishes fairly shortly. So what we did, we had to weigh up our options. Did we go to the west coast of Africa and have a longer totality? And we're going to explain this to you as well a little bit later. And then would we come to Kenya, which had better weather conditions? We had 50-50 chance of clear skies here in Kenya, but totality here is only going to last about 12 seconds. Whereas in Gabon, where we do have a partner there, and I'll tell you a little bit about them in a minute, that they have 1 minute and 17 seconds, I think it is, of totality, but the weather chances that they've got down there are really quite appalling. It's not looking good for them at all. And actually, Bob, just before I go into our big adventure here, I do want to say a huge thank you to Mike Akis, who has gone to enormous lengths to get equipment together and to obviously travel all the way to Gabon. They've actually gone into the jungle there, and Jay Passachoff as well is with him. So big thanks to them. We did lose touch with them though yesterday. Now, so that means we're not sure whether or not we are going to get any live images of totality there. But let me tell you, just before I tell you about our adventure, we have got live images starting from here in Kenya, Bob, at 1:45. So that's just in half an hour's time. We're going to start to see the moon cross the face of the sun. But that gives us half an hour to tell you about the wonderful adventure we've had. Well, we're a group of about 16 people from all sorts of organizations and institutions. It's organized by what's called the Gloria Project, and they really are instrumental in setting up this whole expedition. But they invited Slooh along, and we were more than happy to come along because we can lend our expertise with our live feeds that we do. We do live shows every week. People who know Slooh will know those well. And also, I've been kind of hosting their broadcast today. They're doing a multilingual broadcast today. We've already done one short segment, which is why I had to leave you a short while ago. And I'm actually going to have to leave you for Totality here, but you will get to see the feed. We're going to give you a video feed of Totality at that time. So that is going to be certainly one not to miss. But we start the partial phases and live images from Kenya in half an hour's time. Now, the adventure, Bob. Yes. Well, the first thing was packing. The amount of equipment. I actually landed up packing 70 kilograms of equipment for us to bring here. And obviously that couldn't fit in any airline, wouldn't allow that. So I had to repack that. It actually took me about 6 hours to pack the luggage, which was an adventure in itself. But I got that down to 46 kilograms. So we've been lugging this equipment around, and everybody here has been bringing all their specialist equipment as well. And we, sorry, can you say that again?
Yes, we hear you very well, and I believe you were on Land Rovers or Range Rovers. You had to, did you have to ford streams? I mean, are your adventures to get to this place where the moon shadow will reach? Is this a little? Does this conjure images of Stanley and Livingston, or is it more modern than that?
Unfortunately not, Bob. No, and we felt quite a lot of frustration at various points. But we flew in. I flew in from London. We all met up in Madrid. We then took a connecting flight onto Istanbul. And I still have to ask somebody actually why we came that particular route, because I think it added on 1,000 miles to the journey. And then we flew direct to Nairobi. We arrived very late on at night. We arrived, I think, about 5:30 or something in the morning. We had a couple of hours sleep. Those who eat breakfast elected to have breakfast, and then we loaded up these enormous kind of safari 4x4 vehicles, and that was quite an interesting experience, watching all of the delicate equipment being loaded into these large 4x4s. And then we set off from Nairobi, and we did I think it was various kind of lengths of journey each day, and so we drove basically for 3 solid days over some of the roughest country and roads you could believe. And you should see, anybody who brought equipment here, you could see with every single bump and every little gully that we landed in and bumped up and hit our heads on the Jeep, you could see the tears in our eyes welling up for the rather expensive equipment that we've all brought here. So, but we're certainly not complaining about it, because it has been such a wonderful adventure the whole week, and we've met lots of fascinating people. A lot of us in the group didn't know each other before, so that's been absolutely wonderful meeting everybody here. And of course, we got to see the sights and smells and sounds of Africa, and that included we've seen a little bit of wildlife, not as much as I think a lot of us had hoped, but we saw a few giraffes, we saw some zebra, and quite a few camels actually. But it's been a heck of a ride, as they say.
Fascinating, just fascinating. This, of course, is Slooh, and we're bringing in live coverage of the total solar eclipse of the sun. I'm Bob Berman. There is a total solar eclipse most years, not every year. For example, there is one this year. This is where Paul is stationed, and it's going to begin in only, I guess about 27 minutes now. Everybody cares mostly about totality. People who have seen partial eclipses of the sun, I think most people have, where you have to have eye protection, use filters, you can't look at it directly, and nothing truly odd happens. Stars do not come out, there are no pink flames of nuclear fire coming from the sun's edge, etc., etc. You need totality for that. So when a totality does occur and it sweeps over only a narrow ribbon on the Earth's surface, so it's rather a rare event. There's this one this year. There will be none anywhere in the world next year. The year after, in 2015, the shadow of the moon will cover the cloudy North Atlantic.
Bob's audio appears to have cut out there, so but we'll carry on going. Actually, Bob was talking about the list of upcoming eclipses. There's a fantastic one. We have our audience is worldwide, and I've already said that we've seen already from the YouTube channel that we've got people in from North, South America. We've got people all over Europe watching the shows. By the way, thank you very much to anybody who is joining us from America, because it's still really quite early there. And indeed, our producer, Michael Wilson, is gone up rather early this morning and stayed up rather late to organise this show. But anyway, for people in North America, there is a fabulous total eclipse, I believe in 2017. Bob will confirm this later. I think the path of totality traverses the whole country from the west coast all the way through to the east, so it's never going to be that far away from you in 2017. And hopefully what we're going to be showing you today will get you so fired up for any solar eclipse, wherever you are in the world. If there's a solar eclipse coming up and you've seen one before, a total solar eclipse, you've never seen one before, we're hoping to get you really fired up by the experience of what it's like. Because I have to say, this is my first total eclipse. It's not a partial eclipse. I've seen partial eclipses, sorry, but this is my first total eclipse. And really what eclipse chasers say is that if you've seen a partial eclipse, you haven't seen an eclipse. It's about totality. That's when everything changes. The temperature changes. The light levels obviously change. The birds stop singing. Maybe some of the people will stop talking, I don't know, but there's loads of people here. I'll tell you, we are surrounded by them, tourists, and some of the tribes people have actually come here as well, which is fantastic because they've got their wonderful coloured clothing on. They're known locally as butterflies, and I'll tell you, that is so appropriate. So anyway, this is an absolute adventure for me because this is my first total solar eclipse. Bob, have you joined us again?
Yes, I have, and I'm envious of you being here for this. And
Bob,
of course, keeping our fingers crossed that in the clear of those precious seconds.
We are, and actually during the show, when the partial phase starts off, we've actually got some meteorological instruments here, measuring the light levels and measuring the temperature very accurately. Now, the clouds are playing a little bit of havoc with that, but during the broadcast on slooh.com, we are going to be showing you those graphs, because what we hope to show you is the temperature dropping as the partial phase increases all the way through to totality, and also the light levels. The light level today, you see, actually, if our producer can grab those graphs at the moment, you'll see the graphs go up and down, up and down, up and down, and that's because of the clouds. So every time the cloud goes in front, so you can kind of see the kind of conditions that we've had here today. So, Bob, I finished off your list of some of the most exciting total solar eclipses coming up, and I did mention that haven't you guys got a big one in the United States in 2017?
We do. Our science tour company is first chartering a ship. This is the astronomy tour company that I'm involved with. So we're hoping to see the one in 2016. But in any case, on the next year, 2017, on August 21st, the moon shadow will cross the United States coast to coast, ending a 38-year drought. It'll be the first total eclipse in the mainland United States in 38 years. So this is indeed very, very exciting. But yes, nothing is more exciting at the moment than the 12 seconds of totality that we're looking forward to with you. And I hope as the light dims during the partial eclipse deepening. As it deepens, you will also note and bring us live reports of another flavor of the eclipse that is often overlooked, and that is that the nature of the light, it's not just dimmer, but shadows get stranger because the illumination isn't from as large a source, it's a smaller source. And I think everybody looking around the middle of life has noticed, maybe not consciously, but certainly has perceived that the nature of our shadow depends on the light source. If you have a very little tiny xenon light bulb, your shadow is very stark and crisp. The edges are very crisp. Whereas if you're in a room with a fluorescent tube, a large light, your shadows are rather blurry and indistinct. Well, we're used to the shadows cast by nature's two natural shadow producers, the sun and the moon. We rarely realize that they have identical properties because they're both the same size. They're both half a degree. Well, as the sun becomes smaller and smaller during the partial eclipse before it yields totality, the nature of the light source changes and the edges of shadows get starker and starker. Light gets more polarized. It almost looks as if the countryside around is being illuminated by a different kind of star than the sun. It really looks as if you're on a different planet receiving a very weird, alien, singular illumination. And this is what Paul in Africa will be experiencing. So it's more than just the light level dimming. It'll be the very nature of the light itself.
Oh, right. And we have been showing you the graphs of the light levels and things like that. And we will share those to you every now and again throughout the show so you can kind of keep an eye on what happens. But remember, it's not really going to start changing until another 20 minutes or so. And that's when the partial phase starts here in Kenya. Now, I would just like to mention some of the people who are helping us out here. We've got Michael Wilson, who's in the United States. He's our producer there. He kind of gets Bob and I over these satellite links and pulls all the images together and stuff like that. So he does an absolutely wonderful job. But I'm here in Kenya. I was invited here by the Gloria Project, and they've done a fantastic job of organizing this entire event. And I'm actually broadcasting for them as well. We did a short segment a short while ago, about half an hour ago. This is when the partial eclipse, which is being seen in Europe, was at its maximum phase. We did hope to bring you some live images from the Canary Islands on that, but that's cloudy there. And also, just to mention, actually, our partners, Mike and Jay in Gabon, I've just been checking to see if we've got any live images from them, because their eclipse started about 10 minutes ago, 13 minutes ago, in fact, because, Bob, explain to us why Gabon, on the west coast of Africa, the eclipses started there before it started for me here in Kenya.
Very simply, and before it started for them, it started in Europe, and before Europe, it started on the east coast of America. However, from there, it was only going to be a little tiny, insignificant partial eclipse of the sun, really not even worth watching. Well, the reason for that is simply that as the moon orbits around Earth in a direction from west towards the east, its shadow falling on Earth moves in that same direction, west towards east. And so areas further and further east get the eclipse later and later, because the moon, although it's quite fast in its orbit, it travels at 2,287 miles per hour on average as it circles Earth. You have a second factor, and that is Earth is rotating. So if you're near the equator, you're moving at 1,038 miles an hour in the same direction. If you're further north when the eclipse is progressing, you're rotating at a slower speed. For example, at the latitude of southern France, or let's say New York or Denver, you're moving at about the speed of sound, roughly 770 miles per hour. So the combination of these motions, Earth's spin and the moon's motion itself, and therefore the motion of the shadow, carries the eclipse eastward at a speed that depends on your location on Earth, and therefore the eclipse chugs along. And one always hopes, of course, that it will be weather in the location. And Paul mentioned this earlier, but the factor here in this very challenging eclipse is that statistically, Western Africa, central Western Africa, is a very overcast place. So going there, one could have 1.5 minutes of totality, totality is the all-important thing. Or one could go to Kenya, where the climate is more like a 50-50 chance. That's a lot better than 95% cloudy chance, 50-50 chance, but the eclipse length has fallen off to just 12 seconds. So do you want more of nothing, more seconds of nothing, or fewer seconds of something? And so Paul and Slooh quite wisely have chosen the more optimistic course of action, and this is why people wonder, well, why go this far for 12 seconds? Well, those people who have seen totality will understand it. For any given location on Earth, I should mention, an eclipse of the sun, a total eclipse, happens only once every 360 years. So if you're really a stay-at-homer and you're waiting for an eclipse to come to you, you'll have to be fortunate indeed to see an eclipse. That's why you almost always have to travel, not over fording streams and traveling through Africa and sleeping out. You've had to sleep outdoors, haven't you, Paul?
Well, we've kind of been in, we stayed in one guest house and we've been camping other than that. So, yeah, it's been a bit of an adventure, but actually I nearly moved to bed outside of the tent last night. I'm very much a kind of, yes, English guy who doesn't particularly like the heat, so Kenya probably at this time of year isn't the best place to come. But by the way, I just want to remind everybody, we've got the partial phase starting here in Kenya in about 15 minutes time. Sorry, no, I've got that wrong. That's 3/4 of an hour time. I'm sorry, I got that very wrong. In 3/4 of an hour time. Check. Yes, it is. But anyway, if you didn't catch the beginning of the broadcast, what you're watching today is the Slooh.com Community Observatory live hybrid solar eclipse. By the way, we're going to tell you what a hybrid solar eclipse is a little bit later as well, when I come back a little bit later. But Slooh operates some robotic telescopes. They're online. Anybody can use them over the internet. You can join up and you can point the telescopes wherever you want, basically, and take fantastic celestial images of galaxies, nebulae, comets, Comet ISON. Oh, Bob, I'm going to talk to you a bit later. Maybe after totality, I would like to talk to you about your current trip, and let's tell the viewers about Comet ISON and what the current projections are for it. But anyway, you can join Slooh, you can control the telescopes, or we've got, if you don't want to go that far, we've got a free iPad app, and you can actually buy what's called a mission, and you can control the telescopes and get your own image. Literally, when you do that, the telescope moves, it takes its image, it processes it all for you, and it puts it into your app, and the app is like a kind of virtual sky, and it puts the image in exactly where that object is. It is really great fun. So if you haven't met Slooh before, then I urge you to try that out. But you can easily find out more about what we do on our website that's recently updated, and we've been putting together, and Bob especially actually has been putting together a whole series of the best of Slooh, our magic moments. And look back over the years. We're not a Johnny-come-lately here. We've been doing this now for nearly 10 years. In fact, Slooh celebrates its 10th anniversary on Christmas Day next month. So we are all really looking forward to that. We will have loads of special live events lined up for you there. So please come back to Slooh.com as often as you like to enjoy our live coverage. We do this every week, don't we, Bob? Have you got anything lined up soon for us?
Oh, we do, yes. And of course, we're going to be talking about Comet ISON and the rest. And there's always something amazing happening in the sky. And that's what we do, bring it live to the world. And that's very exciting. But today's event, this is the live total solar eclipse of the sun. I'm Bob Berman. This is Paul Cox, who is in Africa. I'm in Chile at the moment. Our Michael Wilson, our producer, is in Connecticut, and then we have other producers elsewhere. We're going to have Duncan Cop on later, a solar astronomer in Great Britain. So this is really an international effort. I guess I'm here as author of the book The Sun's Heartbeat. I suppose this gives me a little credibility to speak about the sun, but I'm speaking about it from Chile. Paul is there where the eclipse is occurring in Africa, after going through days of effort to arrive at a rendezvous, a meeting place with the moon shadow, kind of a little romantic, an umbral tryst. And he will.
Bob, I'm sorry to laugh there, but when you said romantic, if you saw the state of the toilet facilities here, I don't think you'd call it that. But I must say that we were up all night last night, and we had a couple of hours sleep this morning, and we felt so tired. We arrived here last night at the campsite virtually in darkness around 7 o'clock, and we didn't have time or the light to set up anything or test anything last night. And then this morning, and we were so tired this morning, you should have seen us crawling out of our tents. But now you would not believe the energy that everybody's got, and I'm full of it. You can hear it. I am so excited about the prospect of seeing my first total solar eclipse, and it's not really that's made me most excited, Bob. It's the fact that we're actually, I know this sounds a bit corny, but it's the fact that we are going to be sharing this total eclipse of the sun with anybody with a laptop or an internet connection, basically, and they're going to be seeing the sun in, talk about the latency of, or the time it takes for the image to beam up to the satellite and back down to Earth and off to the servers and down to somebody's laptop. You're seeing it as we see it here. So I am tremendously excited, and you will have to forgive me a little bit, because people who have heard some of my previous shows, especially on Jupiter, one of my favorite objects of the night sky, I do get a bit overexcited, so I apologize now. I'll also tell you that we will have technical problems today. Our audio might drop off every now and again. If it does, then we might play a recorded section that Bob kindly recorded for us. We might play some music as well. Don't forget, we've got some live images going to be starting up fairly shortly. Bob, over to you in Chile. What have we got? We've got Duncan Cop, who's going to be joining us in 10 minutes now. Anybody who knows of Duncan Cop, he's a broadcaster and an astronomer, and he specializes in kind of space-based documentaries. And just look for his name, and you are bound to find an absolutely fascinating documentary about space missions especially. And I'm going to leave you when Duncan comes on, because I've got to go and sort out our telescope and start getting some live images out. But then I'm going to join Bob Berman and Duncan Cop back here, where we're going to tell you more about this particular eclipse. So, Bob, what do you think you're going to talk to Duncan about today?
Well, of course, the glory of totalities, how they have figured historically. We might skip the fiction aspects, for example, how Mark Twain wrote the mythology of armies in ancient Greece that supposedly stopped their battle because they were so awestruck by a totality that was occurring. I have a feeling that was probably apocryphal. But the eclipses throughout history, one in 1919 in May of that year, which proved Einstein's general relativity theory, an eclipse in New York City, the most recent one in New York City on January 24th, 1925, where the term the diamond ring was first coined when it was used by a newspaper reporter. And so there's a lot of lore and legend, not just science, wrapped around the total eclipses of the sun. I want to ask you a question, Paul, though, from your location in Africa. What kind of air do you have? Is it dry? Is it muggy? Is it what kind of conditions are you experiencing right now as you await the moon's shadow?
It is Dry, dusty, and as you can probably hear from my audio, incredibly windy. It's coming into the rainy season here. It's kind of on the equator, so it's not the same kind of seasonal changes as elsewhere. But everything is really quite dry. We've driven through. We're actually at a site called Lake Turkana, if anybody wants to look this up on a map. And it's a fascinating lake. It's part of, and this is what excited Bob, coming to Kenya, because one of the first things that got me excited as a kid in science was when I learned about the Great Rift Valley, and that's what I'm in. And Lake Turkana is a section of the Great Rift Valley which is filled with water. And the Great Rift Valley, if you don't know, is where the Earth's crust is kind of pulling apart, and it generates little volcanoes. We're covered in volcanic dust at the moment, Bob. But Lake Turkana, it used to be 135 meters higher than it is now, I believe, and it used to be the source of the Nile. And actually the lake now, although it doesn't feed, it's now landlocked, and I believe it's one of the largest landlocked lakes in the world, if not the largest landlocked or desert landlocked lake in the world. It has the largest population of Nile crocodiles in it. And fortunately we haven't seen that. But from my location, if I was to stand up in my chair now, I would be looking out over Lake Turkana towards the west. And we're on the east coast. We decided to come to the east coast. Our partners here, the Gloria project, decided to come to this side of the lake because obviously with the sun setting as it's going to be when we see totality, we want a nice clear western horizon, and that's what we're going to see over the lake, Bob.
Very, very exciting. And for people who have just joined us, this is Slooh. I'm Bob Berman in Chile. This is Paul Cox, who is in Africa, the site of the actual eclipse itself. I'm in Chile covering Comet Ison, which will be a future show on Slooh. But today's show is the great 2013 total eclipse of the sun. People who don't know better might say, well, so what? I know that wasn't there an eclipse 2 weeks ago? And there was a penumbral eclipse of the moon, which is about as interesting as, watching paint dry. There are eclipses that are partial eclipses of the sun. People have seen them every few years where you need eye protection. What the public generally doesn't realize is that a total eclipse of the sun, not of the moon, but of the sun, is a order of magnitude, no, I'd say several orders of magnitude greater in glory, in just visual stunningness, which is, I guess, the same thing as glory, in scientific usefulness, in every possible way. It is totality of the sun that brings tears to observers' eyes, that makes animals go crazy. They don't go crazy for a partial lunar eclipse. This is what people take out second mortgages for, and get into debt to get under the moon shadow again, and they take second jobs and whatever it takes, because they're very highly addictive. There is a worldwide community of people who are called eclipse chasers, and they don't chase any kind of eclipse. It's always a total eclipse of the sun. Unfortunately, this one is difficult. It's in Central Africa. Paul has traveled for days, camped out, undergone mosquitoes, and of course, that's not the end of the world. Crocodiles, that's a little bit more impressive. He has to watch out for crocodiles where he is, and all of this for 12 seconds. Now, if you divide 12 seconds, we're not going to tell you what it costs to get him there, but let's say as a per second experience, it even exceeds those prurient phone calls that people can make, I guess, that cost by the minute, or I don't know or the most expensive massage. I mean, I can't think of what on in life could ever cost thousands of dollars per second. And why do it? Well, Slooh is doing it to bring this to the world. But there are individuals who undergo the hardships and the inconveniences of this great expense, great difficulty to get to a total eclipse. And they're doing it not just frivolously, but because this is such an amazing experience. And it's just about to begin, isn't it, Paul? The partial phases of the eclipse at your location.
It will, Bob. So I'm gonna. It's about half an hour's time. C1 first contact is in just over half an hour's time. But we've got Duncan Cop is going to be joining Bob very shortly. We're going to take a little break now. I'm going to leave. Duncan's going to come into the show. Listen to Bob and Duncan. They make a wonderful double act. It's going to be absolutely fascinating listening to them. I obviously won't be able to listen to them, but if for any reason, and I don't know what reason on earth that should be, that you can't stay with us for the entire live eclipse that we're going to bring you, all of Slooh's shows are recorded, and we also put together Slooh highlights of the best parts of the shows as well. So on that note, we're going to just go to a short segment that Bob put up and a station identifier. So we will be back in about 5 or 10 minutes time. We'll see you very soon. Hello and welcome back to Slooh.com, the Community Observatory, our live coverage of today's African total solar eclipse. I'm Paul Cox. I'm talking to you from Kenya. I'm by Lake Turkana, which is a huge landlocked lake. It's one of the largest. Actually, it has a central island in it, which is still slightly volcanic. But I'm here to introduce you to two of our fantastic guests today. In fact, Bob's really co-hosting this show for me today, helping me out a huge amount, as Bob always does. Bob Berman, he's the author of The Sun's Heartbeat. So Bob knows a thing or two about the sun, and he's very well qualified to be talking to you today to explain the intricacies of eclipses. But don't worry, we're not going to be full of theory and stuff that's going to go straight over the top of your head. We are going to explain this to you, exactly what's happening in terms that you can understand. I hope that doesn't sound patronizing, but we have another very special guest joining us. And actually, just before we came back, we our producer, Michael Wilson, working furiously in the background in this show, he kind of said, right, let's see how this works with 4 people on 4 continents. We've got Bob Berman is joining us from Chile at the moment, where he's sorting out a fantastic show for us about Comet Ison. And anybody who knows Slooh knows that Slooh members have been watching Comet Ison every single night. We've been watching it for over a year. We took our first in, or Slooh members took the first image of Comet Ison only a few days after it was discovered. And I say Slooh members because those of you who don't know about Slooh, we run a robotic observatory in the Canary Islands, and anybody can control those telescopes over the internet, which is really cool. You can point it to galaxies or nebulae or planets or Comet Ison or any other comet. And by the way, there is a fantastic community. We don't put the word community in the tagline for nothing. The amount, if you feel a little bit daunted by astronomy or by space, the help that you're going to get in the Slooh community will hold your hand all the way through. We know, we've all been there. It's such a daunting subject when you start off, but Slooh members are there to hold your hand. We always remind each other, remember how difficult it was when we first started. But anyway, back to our guest, Mr. Duncan Cop, film director. You probably, without knowing it, hopefully some of you do know it, but you've probably seen some of Duncan's documentaries, astronomy and space-based documentaries. Duncan, delighted to welcome you. You're talking to us from your home in England at the moment, I believe.
Good to be here, Paul. You know what? I'm actually in Houston at the moment.
Oh dear, after all of that. Okay.
Just to complicate things even further.
3 continents then.
Yes, I'm sorry. I've hopped over to North America as opposed to being in Europe, which is where I'm normally based in London.
Listen, if I'd known this, I don't think I ever would have planned it. The fact that you're in Houston, Bob's in Chile, Michael Wilson, our producer, is in Connecticut, and I'm in the heartland of Kenya, and I'm broadcasting to you somehow over this satellite service is beyond belief, really, and we haven't had a technical hitch yet. So anyway, Duncan, I'm going to leave you in the capable hands, Mr. Bob Berman, and I'm going to have to watch the recorded show because I know you guys are going to talk about some fascinating stuff. I'm going off now to prepare our telescopes and cameras to start taking the first images, which is going to be actually in only 20 minutes time. The partial phase here in Kenya starts in 20 minutes time. So Bob and Duncan, over to you. Have a great time. I wish I could be here listening to you, because I love listening to you guys. Now, do behave. I don't want any fighting over the last astronauts that you last interviewed, okay?
Okay, Paul. Thanks a million. Thank you. Hello, Bob.
Okay.
It's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, very good. So Bob Berman here, and I'm with Dr. Duncan Cop. And Duncan, being a solar expert, he's being very modest, saying that he's not an active astronomer now, but he has all the credentials and produces movies, documentaries about astronomy in various ways. So tell me, Duncan, what does this eclipse mean to you, today's eclipse?
I think eclipses are always fascinating, and it's because, if you think about it, it's so dependent on our nearest star, on the sun, and to have it blotted out is quite an incredible, I guess, part of nature, and actually quite unique in that it just so happens that at the moment the moon is just far enough away to be able to cover the disk of the sun. And I was fortunate enough to see a total solar eclipse a little while ago now. I think it was 1999. It just clipped the coast of England. In fact, it was seen in the Channel Islands, and we went to a little island called Alderney. And without a doubt, it's one of the most exciting things you can possibly experience, especially if you like astronomy. I mean, to see the sun disappear is really quite an incredible sight. And to view it with a lot of other people, this island is very, very small, and it was absolutely packed. But the atmosphere was incredible, and it just sent a shiver down my spine. It was an incredible, incredible event. So for those of you lucky enough to see the eclipse today, you're going to have the same experience.
And Duncan, what you're saying is astonishing, because I thought that England for that August 11th, 1999 eclipse was completely clouded out. You mean you got to see it?
Yes, yes. And we were really fortunate because if you had been on mainland England, you wouldn't have seen anything at all because it was clouded out. But in Alderney, in the Channel Islands, we had a little window of opportunity. There was some relatively high cloud that didn't totally obscure the sun. In fact, they acted as a sort of a filter in some respects. So we were actually able to see totality, albeit brief. But, you know, it's just something that sticks with you forever. It's an image that I remember. And unfortunately, the cloud was thick enough so that we couldn't see the solar corona particularly well. But I do remember seeing some beautiful pinky orange prominences, these big arcing structures that come out of this from the surface of the sun, from the photosphere, the bright part of the sun, and were projecting beyond the limb, beyond the disk of the moon. We managed to catch one or two of those, and they were beautiful. And the color was exquisite. It's a color I'd never really seen before. It's almost like a shocking pink. So we were very fortunate just to capture a little bit of that before, as you say, Bob, the clouds just obscured our view, which was sort of disappointing, but everybody was elated that we got to see just a little glimpse of this fantastic event. It was incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, also amazing is today's event, where our Paul Cox is positioned in a place where totality will last 12 seconds.
Wow.
And I know people are wondering, 12 seconds, my goodness, is that 12 seconds of anything? Is that worthwhile? But what do you make of that, Duncan?
Oh, well, I would say if you can stand in the shadow of the moon for 5 seconds, you should do it, because it's really the most amazing thing. And that's, of course, what you're going to be doing. It's quite a unique eclipse, this. It's a hybrid. And what we mean by that is part of the sun will be obscured at the beginning and at the end, but it's only during the middle of the path of the moon's shadow as it falls on the Earth that you're going to be able to stand in an area where you'll experience totality. And by that we mean that the moon's disk will totally cover the sun. And it's a really interesting thought experiment, this. The moon orbits around the Earth, but not in a perfect circle. It's in an ellipse. So that means that sometimes it's a little bit further away from us and sometimes it's a little bit closer. And when it's a little bit further away, it's not quite able to totally obscure the disk of the sun. And what happens is the photosphere, the bright surface of the sun, draws a line. It creates a ring, if you like, an annulus all the way around the moon, and that's called an annular eclipse. And that's what we're going to see at the beginning and at the end of the eclipse today. But think about this. The Earth is round, and so as the moon's shadow moves across the Earth, where the Earth bulges out, it's just enough to bring us just a little bit closer to the moon, and that's where we get totality. So that's a real amazing sort of coincidence of nature.
Yes, it is. You know, when people talk about coincidences, many of them really aren't. You hear it said, for example, that isn't it the most amazing coincidence that the moon's revolution around the Earth, 27.66 days, exactly matches its period of rotation on its own axis, 27.32166 days. Isn't that just a fantastic coincidence? But it turns out that every single major moon of every single planet does the same thing. It's just captured by tidal forces. But this is different. Here we have only two disks in our sky, two circles in our sky, the sun and the moon. All the other celestial objects look like dots. Planets look like dots. Stars so far away, they look like little pinpoints as well. Two disks, and they both appear the same size, exactly the same size, half a degree in size. But today, as Duncan has just been pointing out, they are even more perfectly matched than usual, because the moon's distance and its oval orbit is such that it exactly balances the sun's apparent size, and therefore when it glides over it, as seen by Slooh's Paul Cox in Kenya, it will just so perfectly match it that it will cover the sun for just a matter of seconds, 12 brief seconds, and during that time day will turn into night. Pink prominences of flame should leap from the edges. The solar corona, the sun's ultra-hot atmosphere, following magnetic field lines on the sun, will leap into the sky around the sun. And all of these phenomena will happen at the same time and last for only 12 seconds. So although the eclipse, which will begin at Paul Cox's location very soon now, will be fascinating to watch and will build up. There'll be an exhilaration as it gets deeper and deeper and the light gets stranger and stranger. We are all holding our breath for those 12 seconds of totality. It's very exciting, don't you think, Duncan?
Yeah, totally, and it's lovely to hear you talk about it, Bill, because Bob, because it's basically taking me back to what I remember in 1999 when we saw the eclipse in Alderney. And as I say, it's the only time I've stood in the shadow of the moon and experienced totality. And Alderney is a tiny island. It really is a tiny island. So there's a fort in Alderney, and everybody went to the fort. That was the sort of focal point. So there were thousands and thousands of people around, and it got progressively darker and darker, and that was a very strange thing. You could almost see the shadow coming in across the ocean, across the English Channel. And at the time, this was when Concorde was still flying, and we could hear Concorde way, way above the deck of the clouds, sort of flying around, because it's quite a noisy aircraft. And so you could hear planes and helicopters, and it added to the excitement. And then, of course, all the birds start to roost and start to basically thinking it's the evening. And then during totality, the whole island was lit up by flash photography, because everybody in those days had their cameras and didn't turn their flashes off, And so it was like being at a pop concert. It was incredible. And just for those few brief seconds in our case, because of the clouds, we were able to see this fantastic event. But, I'd love to go back and see another. In fact, it's on my sort of to-do list to go somewhere where the weather is a lot better. Chile would be a great place, I guess, in terms of weather to view this. And
yes, I wish we would have one here. We're actually going to have it in the year 2019. Several eclipses from now, we're going to have a total eclipse here in Chile.
That's going to be amazing. And I think that the really exciting one is 2017, August
2017, but 2016, it's called Berman Astronomy Tours, but we've already chartered a ship, the only ship that can sail from Hawaii, and I hope you'll join us for that one to see the moon's shadow as it sweeps just north of Hawaii in 2016. So
wow.
We won't have to quite wait as long as that. We are in the midst of a rather difficult time for seeing total eclipses. There are periods of time, the one over Buffalo, New York in 2024, for example. There are more convenient times. There was one over Southern California in 2023, over New York City in 1925 over New York City, 1923 over Los Angeles, south of Los Angeles. Actually, Los Angeles is one of the unfortunate places where, and I'll bet you didn't know this, Duncan, there is a 1,500-year period between total eclipses for them. It's just extraordinary. On average. Yes, the average around the world is only 360 years only in order to wait between totalities. But LA has bad luck, New York has good luck in this case, and today it's Kenya's turn.
So Bob, is there a place on the planet that gets a higher percentage of totality than anywhere else? I mean, is there sort of the perfect sweet spot to be in?
No, not at all, because it's really a matter of luck. Here we live on our twirling planet, and there's the moon's path around Earth, and it's really the luck of the draw. And if you look at the maps of the moon shadow where it sweeps over, and you look at where they intersect, those are, of course, the really fortunate places where, for example, the United States will have a total eclipse of the sun on August 12th of 2045, and after having one in 2024 and in 2017. Well, if you look at these maps, there are inevitably going to be places where the eclipse tracks cross. And in these small areas, here are some towns where the people can say, "Well, I don't understand what the big fuss is about. We just saw one 10 years ago, and here there's another one." And yet, as I said, here's Los Angeles that must go more than 1,000 years between total solar eclipses. So it's just a matter of the luck of the draw. And then you have the factor in of the cloudy weather, and whether it's clear or whether it's likely to be cloudy. And that's why Slooh's Paul Cox is standing by in Kenya, where he's going to undergo he's gone really trips to where he is in a crocodile-infested region to where the chances of clear weather are a little higher. The eclipse length has gone down from 1.5 minutes in Western Africa to only 12 seconds at his location, and yet the chances of clear weather are better. So, you have your choice there. Do you want more seconds of nothing or fewer seconds of a good chance of seeing the eclipse? And that's what he's experiencing. We're talking to Dr. Duncan Cop, an expert on astronomy and the sun, and also produced a wonderful documentary, Shadow of the Moon, an award-winning documentary about astronomy. He's in Houston at the moment, even though you can tell from his, what we would call an accent, he's British. Normally he's found in the London area. I'm Bob Berman, author of The Sun's Heartbeat. We have Paul Cox, who at the moment is tweaking his equipment. He's going to be back because the partial eclipse is beginning at his location in Kenya, and we at Slooh are bringing it to you live. We also want to thank our producer who's putting together this multi-continent show from Connecticut, and that is Michael Wilson. So this is truly an intercontinental effort. We're still standing by waiting for the partial eclipse to begin in Kenya. See, it has already swept across Europe. We were hoping to bring you live images from Slooh's Canary Island facility, but it's cloudy. And, you know, as modern as technology is in allowing us to bring you this multi-continent broadcast, think of it, you know, Paul there in Africa and me in Chile at the moment, and Duncan in the United States, and all bouncing off satellites. Unless, what can we do when it's overcast over the observatory? Nothing. So we're still old-fashioned in that sense. So we could not bring you the partial phase there, but the much more important total eclipse is still in our future in Slooh's coverage. Duncan, any more thoughts about eclipses in general?
Yeah, I mean, there's some pretty neat imagery now that I've seen that sort of I think it gives a unique perspective, and that's the astronauts on board the International Space Station, because there's been circumstances in the past where they've been able to look down on the Earth and see the moon's shadow move across the surface of the Earth, and it's fantastic. It's a totally new and different perspective, and you get to see this eerie sort of grey, dark sphere, just the moon shadow just passing over the Earth. And I always think that's a fascinating perspective, something, of course, that nobody ever would have seen until, 50 odd years ago, 50, 60 years ago, until we started to go into space.
Yes, we see this on other planets. Backyard amateurs or people who use the Slooh telescopes to see it in really exquisite detail see the 4 main moons or Galilean satellites of Jupiter as they cast their shadows very prominently on Jupiter's surface. It's actually a gaseous surface, cloud tops, and we see those shadows prominently moving across. But if there were beings, I won't say humans, but some kind of sentient beings observing it, they would see a very different kind of eclipse from what we get, because from Jupiter, those moons appeared too large to just fit over the sun. They more than block out the sun. So if you were on Jupiter or any other planet, you would not see. There's no other planet that has what we have, whereas their satellite, their moon, appears exactly the same size as the sun, and therefore can not just block out the sun, but leave enough of the edge around the sun so that we could see those pink flames of nuclear fire spewing into space like geysers of flame, and see the sun's corona and all the other wonderful phenomena. You don't want to block that out. So you don't want your obscuring object, your moon, to be too big. You don't want it to be too small. Otherwise, you'll fail to cover up the brilliant solar photosphere or gaseous surface, and it'll blind you and you won't be able to see the eclipse. Instead, on Earth, it's perfect. And that's even more the oddity, considering that the moon is spiraling away from us at the rate of about 1.5 inches a year. We're losing the moon. It's going farther and farther away from us all the time. And so it's only now, interestingly enough, when humans dominate the planet, that's good in some ways, bad in some ways, I suppose, that we have total solar eclipses even occurring. In the distant future, the moon will still be the same size, 2,180 miles across, but it will be too far away to have the same angular size to be able to cover up the sun. So we're going to really enjoy the event today and enjoy the event during our lifetimes, because this is not for always. Totally solar eclipses are for the current Earth, not for the Earth for all of its eons. So we're with Duncan Cop, Dr. Duncan Cop, who is a British astronomer, filmmaker, produces wonderful documentaries, and he's in Houston. I'm Bob Berman, author of The Sun's Heartbeat. I only mention that because I suppose that lends some credibility to me talking about the sun. I'm in Chile, leading a Comet ISON tour, and we're hoping to bring the Slooh members and, in fact, our followers around the world images of Comet ISON as it brightens, and more about that in a few days, actually. We're always doing some shows, and Paul Cox is standing by in Kenya. At the moment, the partial eclipse, the eclipse itself, the moon intruding on the solar disk in preparation for it completely blocking the sun, is just about to begin, and so Slooh is having its equipment adjusted by Paul. Paul is just getting ready to transmit the first eclipse images from Kenya, and when he does, he'll be back on joining us in our broadcast. So all of this is very, very exciting. This is the 2013 eclipse. You'll never get more than one total solar eclipse in a year. In fact, some years, like next one, 2014, will have no total eclipses of the sun. So they're rare ducks, rare birds, and so we're very excited about it. Duncan has already been to a total eclipse. Yeah, most people have not. And so when you look ahead, which one are you? Which one do you have your sights set on, Duncan? The one in the United States in 2017, I think you mentioned?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's going to be super because obviously for people in America, the path of totality runs right from East Coast to West Coast, right through Central America. And so you're going to have a lot of people be able to see it. When you think about eclipses, it's quite unfortunate in that a lot of them happen in remote places, or the Earth itself is 2/3 covered with water. So the odds are it's going to occur way out in the ocean somewhere. But with the one in August 21st in 2017, it's going to go right through the heartland of America. So that means that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be able to see the eclipse. And that's great because it just means more people will become engaged in astronomy, and I hope it fires people up and gets them interested in what goes on in our skies above our heads, because it's always changing. There's always different things up there to see, and I think astronomy is such a wonderful subject because it's like an old friend. It's always there and it's reliable, and you get to know the stars and the planets, and it's just a fantastic opportunity to understand more about the universe that's around us, and something that triggers that, I think, is always a good thing. And I think that's what eclipses do. We can't help but be fascinated by them.
Absolutely. And of course, as we mentioned this earlier, there's different degrees in terms of scientific usefulness and in sheer glory, sheer spectacle.
Yeah.
A total eclipse of the moon is nice. We'll have one on April 15th coming up. A partial eclipse is much less exciting. A penumbral eclipse is hardly anything happens at all. Through most penumbral eclipses of the moon, you can look at the full moon. We had one just 2 weeks ago, and unfortunately the media hyped that a bit. And I know of several eclipse parties where people attended that and looked at the full moon, and there was nothing that changed at all on the moon. But the extreme, the terminus, if a penumbral eclipse of the moon is the least fascinating eclipse, this is the most. A total eclipse, not of the moon, but of the sun. This is the object that makes animals go crazy and people weep, and nobody who sees it is indifferent or partial or goes away saying, "Oh, I don't know, I heard a lot of hype. I'm not sure it lived up to the hype." It more than does that, and we'll see that for ourselves. Of course, there's one experience live. It's another thing to see it on your laptop, on your computer, on your iPad, the way we are today. Frankly, it carries less of an impact. It's like, I suppose, attending a birth or visiting the Grand Canyon or any other great experience of life. There is something about the being there live. However, much more than second best to not seeing it all is the immediacy of viewing it as it's occurring. And the phenomena that accompany totality, as we will see here at Slooh, coming up now in less than an hour, are are still indescribable, even when seen, let's say, on a tablet or on an iPhone or on a computer, because we will see the sun's strange, tenuous atmosphere, several million degrees. That's far and away more violet than the sun's surface, which is a mere paltry 11,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, this is several million degrees, and at that temperature, you don't have intact atoms. You have broken bits of atoms. In other words, the things that atoms are made of, electrons, protons, and because these are charged particles, they are susceptible to following the magnetic field lines of the sun. So we will see the sun's overall magnetic field. This may sound boring, a little bit like in school when you dropped iron filings on a piece of paper and you had a magnet on the other side and you could see the field lines. But in the case of the sun, the magnetism dictates what happens on the sun. Its violence, its storms, its coronal mass ejections, these cycles that affect planet Earth, all of these ultimately stem from magnetism. And the magnetism itself stems from a layer of the sun about 70% of the way from the center towards the edge. And this seems abstract, it seems textbooky, but today, in a mere hour from now, we will see it for ourselves because the material of the sun's atmosphere these magnetic field lines and produces a pattern that will be very evident during the eclipse. One of the reasons I'm excited about it. What, Dr. Duncan Cop, what excites you the most about watching an eclipse? What is the thing you're looking for today?
Well, I think you touched on perhaps the most beautiful part, which is observing the corona, this fantastically hot solar atmosphere, which of course you can't normally see because the surface of the sun, which we call the photosphere, is so brilliant that it basically obscures this very tenuous, much, much fainter halo of atmosphere that surrounds our star. And as you eloquently stated there, Bob, the structures in the corona are dictated by this huge, powerful magnetic field. The sun's magnetic field is one of the biggest structures in the solar system. It's ginormous. And it's one of these things that you can't actually see, which is often the way with science, but it has such a big effect on all of us. So to be able to see it traced out in the solar corona, this atmosphere that the sun has, is a really beautiful thing, and it's a magical thing. And of course, the corona is so mysterious because scientists are still really trying to come to grips with why is it so hot? I mean, you're talking about a temperature here of millions of degrees, whereas the surface of the sun is about 6,000 degrees. So there's a real complex conundrum to solve there. Well, why is that? Why is the surface of the sun 6,000 degrees? But when you move away from the sun and move through the corona, it's counterintuitive, because the corona is much, much hotter, orders of magnitude hotter. So that's one of the biggest mysteries of the sun that scientists are trying to crack at the moment. So, our star, our sun, it's a star, it's the nearest star to us. It's the best physics laboratory that we have to study stars in. And never forget that. You look up, you're looking at a real star, a live star, 93 million miles away. So it's always exciting to be able to see the sun in a different way. And of course, that's what a total solar eclipse allows us to do, for a fleeting moment, to be able to see the corona.
Yes, well said.
Hello.
And do I hear Paul returning from Africa? Is that what I'm hearing? Returning to our show?
You do hear me. You do hear me, Bob.
So what's the latest? What's the
our
latest,
producer,
Paul?
well, our producer just should look. There is a new image that I got up just after C1, the first contact, but suddenly all hell broken out here. An enormous, ferocious dust storm has just totally overswept the entire site. Everybody's trying to, you can hear in the background maybe, everybody's trying to put the delicate equipment away. I've left ours out because I don't want to have to set it up again. So it might get a bit windblown, but goodness me, talk about dramatic. So fortunately, I slept with my equipment last night. I'm not with the main camp. I decided that it was too dangerous to leave my equipment alone. So I actually had a small one-man tent put up right next to the equipment. So I've actually just jumped into my tent with my computers. So yes, dramatic, one could say. And the guys, actually, I'm looking outside now through the window. The guys, we've got a big awning over us. They are trying to hold it down, basically. There's somebody on each corner. Somebody else is trying to their tent down. He'd better do what I want to do, or did, and get in it. That will hopefully, well, I hope my theory is correct in that it's going to keep it down. Goodness me, gentlemen, you would not believe it. What an event in itself.
You're up to your neck. You're up to your neck in crocodiles, so to speak.
Well, fortunately, the dust storm has come from the opposite direction, so it's going to be blowing them back, because presumably, this is, you guys said, this is the largest population of Nile crocodiles in the world. There's more here than there are in the Nile, and that's because this lake used to feed the Nile before it dropped in height. But presumably, these crocodiles have been kind of lining up along the lake shore, seeing all of these tourists and eclipse chasers coming in, and kind of I don't know, do crocodiles have lips that they could lick? But yeah. So listen, while I absolutely, well, while I enjoy the adventure outside, what have you?
I know what you're asking. We've lost your audio. You've asked what we've been talking about up till now.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, yes, Dr. Duncan.
That's right.
Cop,
yes, Bob.
Dr. Duncan Cop and myself, Bob Berman, we have been talking about eclipses in history that Duncan has attended. We talked about the solar corona and how strange it is that the sun's atmosphere should be so much hotter than the sun's surface, and how exciting it will be to see the sun's magnetic field, which sounds textbooky, but is actually very influential on Earth and its fortunes, and on the sun's production of its own coronal mass ejections and other storms. The sun's magnetic field is all important, and we'll see it. We'll actually see it because it will influence the broken bits of atoms or plasma that stream from the sun, and these are forced to follow the magnetic field lines of the sun. So when can you actually see the sun's magnetic field? When can you see it? Well, in less than an hour now, isn't it so?
It is indeed. And gosh, I hope, well, the way the speed that this came in, well, I haven't spoken to anybody else since, but I'm certainly hopeful that it might actually blow through and blow over. But obviously, it's totally obscured absolutely everything. But my producer has told me my first image got through, and this was, I actually uploaded a previous image, but it didn't get through just at the point of the partial phase started. But I believe our viewers now are looking at that first partial eclipse just as the moon started to cross the sun's disk, taking that little bite-sized chunk out. And Bob, you're a veteran, but I haven't been to one with a large group like this before. So there was a big out, there was a countdown, 20 seconds to first contact, so that everybody could be reminded to put their eclipse spectacles on and look at it. And then sort of whoops went out. Just as we saw that first little chunk of the sun's disk being taken out. So I was actually looking through my camera at the time and just doing that. It was marvelous. I actually managed to look through my eclipse filters yet. So
good. You'll have to give us a running account. It's a little bit like Lot's wife in the Bible, that it's something that you must not look at, and yet is fascinating. And why mustn't you look at it, Paul?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what
you are going to damage your eyes irreparably, and it will happen in a millisecond. People think they can look at the sun at any time, through just for a fleeting moment through sunglasses, or you see people stacking sunglasses together. It does not work. You have to have highly specialized and usually quite expensive equipment to be able to filter the full sun's light to stop that coming through, either damaging equipment or your eyesight. But of course, there are, for eclipses,
Yes.
you will have seen them, kind of little paper eclipse glasses, and they have a special filter in them which is safe to use, but with this provision. If you ever go and see an eclipse, and those people who saw the partial eclipse in Europe earlier, we warned them of this on our previous Spanish show, it's not only owning a pair of eclipse glasses, it's checking them before you use them. And the way to do that is you just hold them up to a very bright light bulb, 60 watt, 100 watt, if they still make those kinds anymore. You hold those up, and if you see any kind of scratch, any kind of imperfection or pinhole, do not use them. So anyway, I am being told, gentlemen, that we have an extra special guest here to join us. Do excuse me. You just would not believe the well, Duncan probably would on some of his shoots, film shoots, but the conditions here are absolutely amazing. I've never been in conditions like this anywhere in the world, and I have been to a few places. But we have got a very special guest joining us. So before we get him in, Duncan, have you got any final words for us today before you leave us? A huge thank you for covering this really important part of today's event for us.
Oh, not at all. It's always absolutely a pleasure to take part in a Slooh live broadcast. And, you know, the job you guys do is just amazing. And hearing you, Paul, you know, it's fantastic. It just adds that element of excitement. I know it may be a little bit painful out there, but, you know, it's sort of it's the exploring roving astronomer in you that allows you to go to these places and adds to the excitement. I mean, I would just say, you know, anybody who's in the right place, who has an opportunity to be able to go out and see this thing, go and do it, because it's absolutely amazing. And events like this really put things into perspective. You know, we're on a planet that's moving. We have a moon that's moving. We have circumstances where we have these amazing coincidences that eclipses occur. And I always find it quite humbling. You know, it just helps cement our place in the universe. You stop the sort of hurly-burly of everyday life that takes over us. You know, it's nice just to stop, look up, think, wow, you know, we're actually on quite a small, insignificant part of the planet, part of the solar system. So to be able to see these things just brings that home, I think.
And Dr. Duncan Cop and Paul Cox. Paul was just warning us about the dangers of looking at this event without the proper protection. Before you bring in your guests, I want to tell you just a true story. It'll take 10 seconds. That before the 1994 Annular eclipse,
we've got time.
Good. Before the 1994 Annular eclipse, when I was warning people on a radio show not to stare at the sun without eye protection, a woman called the station and asked, if the eclipse is so dangerous, why are they having it?
Well, we can always rely on you for that extra special anecdote, which is marvelous. So,
brilliant story.
Well, listen, actually, I'm just. By the way, Duncan, I could not agree with your sentiments more. I think that with our next guest, we are going to understand very fully why Slooh does these events, and this is about trying to enable people who aren't fortunate enough to have an eclipse in their own backyard to share in the excitement and the overall experience of an event like this. And it's astronomy, I always think, is one of the most approachable and tactile, and all you have to do to partake in astronomy is to look up at night, and it really gives us our place in our own little corner of this universe. So I do agree with your sentiments. Now, Duncan, because I miss you today, as the dust pours into my tent, I really miss not being able to talk to you today. So I will be ringing you shortly to get you on one of our live events, because I would love to talk to you at more length, especially about some of your upcoming projects, because you've always got something fascinating. So anyway, Duncan, thank you so much.
That would be wonderful. Thanks very much, Paul. And Bob. It's great to talk to you both. I just made a film about ISON, actually. So when ISON...
Oh, we should talk about it. Let's talk about it,
I'd
Duncan.
love to. It's just amazing.
Well, no, Duncan, before you go, tell us, when's it showing?
I have to find out exactly the dates, but it'll be close to Thanksgiving, close to the 28th of November. Perihelion, when ISON reaches its closest position towards the sun. But, that's the great thing about astronomy. There's always something happening. There's always something happening up there that's exciting.
Yep.
And, I love the idea of Slooh being a community that just brings people together all over the world to appreciate and to see these things. I think Slooh just does an amazing job. It's fantastic. So thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you. You can come again, sir. You can definitely come again. Secured your place on the next show.
Paul, enjoy the rest.
Duncan, we'll see.
The eclipse, Paul.
Thank you very much. We'll see you very soon, I hope, Duncan. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, both. Bye-bye.
Bye, Duncan.
Bye-bye.
As Duncan leaves us, he's left the two of us, but actually it is hundreds of thousands of people around the world. You are joining hundreds of thousands of people around the world for this very special eclipse. And we have got Bob, a very important person, coming in, joining our show today. Now, let me just have a look, see whether our producer has got him lined up. Right, we are going to take a very short break to get our guest in. And our new guest is Mr. Mike Paluchi. He is the founder of Slooh. And when you hear I'm going to ask Mike about his motivations for starting Slooh 10 years ago. And I think that will very clearly explain why I'm here, why he sent me here in the middle of Kenya, in the middle of a dust storm, during a total eclipse of the sun. You'll understand the motivations of why we do this stuff. So we will be back very shortly after this break. Goodbye.
This is Slooh. I'm Bob Berman as we continue our live coverage of the total solar eclipse of 2013. Total solar eclipses are not only extraordinary because of the spectacular events that occur during them, like the solar corona and prominences coming from the sun's edge and stars coming out in the daytime and the reaction of animals and the reaction of people, but because of their scientific usefulness. There simply is no other kind of eclipse that provides information about the sun the way a total solar totality does. Unfortunately, these are rather rare eclipses. It's true that one occurs somewhere in the world 3 out of 4 years. There will be none next year, for example, but there will be one on March 20th, 2015, that kind of frequency. But when they do occur, only a very narrow part of Earth's surface gets to see one. The moon's shadow tapers like a chopstick as it approaches Earth, getting slenderer and slenderer until it's only about 100 miles wide when it touches Earth's surface. Then the combination of the moon's motion through space, about 2,280 miles per hour, and our own rotation, which at the equator is 1,038 miles an hour in the same direction, winds up producing a streak or slash, a ribbon of darkness crossing Earth's surface. And if you're located within that narrow path, you get to see totality. Outside of that path, and you would see a partial solar eclipse. In other words, the moon partially blocking out the sun. And for those, you always need eye protection, such as number 12 or number 14 shade welder's goggles. For a total eclipse, no eye protection at all is needed. You can look right at it. You could even use binoculars if you wished. In this particular eclipse, however, since the path goes through central Africa, a very cloudy part of Africa, and doesn't reach a statistically clear part until it's in eastern Africa, in Kenya, it's a difficult path of totality to reach. There are no main cities, there are no hotels along this part of the path, and therefore the Slooh team going there, Paul Cox, who is set up right now with his equipment, telescope, satellite transmitting equipment, and is bringing us the images that we're seeing. This is not easy, and we've gone to great pains, trouble, expense in order to bring you this live eclipse coverage. Statistically, we expected to see cloudy skies. In actuality, you can see for yourself whether or not the sun is in the clear or in the clouds. It varies. Of course, as we all know, clouds come and go, and the only thing that matters is how will the sun appear during the brief, less than 15 seconds of totality. This is a short totality, and yet everything exciting happens during that period of time. Well, it's exciting, of course, to talk about eclipses in general, the historic ones. Mark Twain wrote in a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court about how the hero was able to escape from the natives when he pretended to block out the sun because he had knowledge of a total eclipse that was going to occur at that time. In the United States, they've been unfortunately rare of late. The last one happened in over Montana, and that was now 36 years ago. The next one, fortunately, is not too long away. On August 21st of 2017, the moon shadow will sweep across from the state of Oregon southeastward over Idaho, Jackson, Wyoming, over southern Illinois, and finally over Nashville, and then out to sea in the Carolinas. So that will be a good one, and it's only a few years away. I know a little bit about them because not only was my last book, The Sun's Heartbeat, dedicated to the sun, and of course chapters about solar totalities, but I've been fortunate enough to be the eclipse astronomer for 7 total solar eclipses. The first one, I shouldn't admit that I'm this old, but the first one was back on March 7th, 1970, where the eclipse shadow crossed over Virginia Beach, Virginia, before going out to sea and then sweeping over the enchanted island of Nantucket in Massachusetts. And fortunately, that was clear weather for that entire eclipse. The current one over Africa, we always knew it would be more problematical, and as we await the moment of totality, we will see whether those precious seconds of totality find the sun in the clear or cloudy as well. I will say from the eclipse expeditions that I've been on for all these decades, one thing in common is that people weep. They're touched by it. There's something that happens when the sun and the moon and your spot on Earth form a straight line in space. It's certainly not scientific at all. No, it's not scientific to speak of vibes or feelings or the things that would make people so emotional and weep, make the animals go crazy, but it's undeniable. Everybody who has traveled to see a total eclipse reports the same thing, which is why they're so addictive. People take out second jobs and second mortgages, whatever they have to do to get within the moon's shadow once again. And that's one of the reasons why we at Slooh are so anxious to bring you this eclipse. Now, an eclipse, of course, on your computer monitor is not going to be the same thing as the real event in person, just as the Grand Canyon or a major life event, a human birth, all these things are better in person. Nonetheless, far better to see this second-hand, as it will, as it is happening, with at least the immediacy of the live event, which is what Slooh is now going to bring you, than to see a photograph of it later. So as we continue our coverage of this great event, 1 hour or so during the partial phases, only a quarter minute of totality, and then another hour of the partial phases as the sun gets uncovered by the moon. So stick with us as we continue our live broadcast of this total eclipse of the sun, the last one for the next 2 years, anywhere on Earth. For Slooh, I'm Bob Berman.
This is Slooh. I'm Bob Berman with our continuing coverage of the great 2013 total solar eclipse from Kenya, Africa. We have Paul Cox standing by. He's been traveling for days. Dust storms, crocodiles. It's something right out of the movies in order to bring us live coverage of 12 seconds of totality. 12 seconds of totality. In fact, let's look at a little bit of Paul's travels. What are we looking at? And narrate. Tell us what you've been experiencing, Paul, leading up to the eclipse, which is, by the way, underway right now as we await totality itself.
Yep, and our producer will occasionally feed in that first image, that first contact image that I managed to take. Wow, the thunder and lightning starting now as well. Yes. If our producer can just type in for me to tell me whatever images that you're looking at, and I can certainly describe them. But generally, Bob, what this is organized. This whole expedition is organized with a large number of organizations coming together. And actually, you can see this group shot now. You can see us all there. I think there's about 16 of us like that. Maybe not everybody is in the party, in the photo. But the main expedition, the main eclipse expedition, was organized by the Gloria Project. There's lots of other participating people, and they invited us along as well, because some of them are made up of the Institute of Astrophysics in the Canary Islands, which is where, of course, Slooh's robotic telescopes are based, and that's the telescopes anybody can use. But anyway, this photo that you're seeing was all of the team there, and we've traveled from all around the world to get here. I'm London. We all really met up in Madrid. We flew on to Istanbul before then flying down to Nairobi. And the Nairobi flight, I think, was 6 hours. And basically, we were all in the air for 24 hours, certainly in airports, carrying all of the special equipment that we brought here to observe an eclipse. And on our first day here, we arrived in Nairobi airport. I think we arrived about 3:30, but it took us about 3 hours to get through the airport. And as you can see, we loaded all of our equipment up. And 5:30 in the morning, we got to a hotel. We then got up at 7:30 and jumped on the first leg of this long journey. And that first leg was probably the longest, but only because it had kind of 50% of it was on passable roads, Bob.
Oh, it just sounds like what an amazing expedition. While you tell us about it, can you tell us what part of the eclipse are we up to? How long do we have until the long-awaited totality?
I can, Bob. We are about 1 hour, just under 1 hour away. So, Max, actually, no, it's not. No, I lie. I'm sorry. It is in 25 minutes time. So we still have time here. The dust storm has gone. The winds are starting to subside a bit. There are storm clouds on the horizon, but there are also a few clouds parting. So we are all still really hopeful here. I think we're all optimists here. I think the fact that you arrived here means that you must be an optimist to put yourself through this kind of journey, because after the first day, Bob, we once again had a very short night's sleep, because everything here in Kenya just takes time, and the locals keep telling us TIA. This is Africa. This is how things are done here, and stuff just takes time. But on the second day, we were totally out onto rock roads. I mean, to call them gravel roads doesn't do them justice. And by the way, I've taken hundreds of photos and videos. We're going to do a great big post and a great big kind of after show thing once I get back. So this will be kind of next week, and we'll show you all the highlights of the show, plus all these wonderful photos. So you can kind of see the kind of experience and what an adventure this is to go and see a total solar eclipse. Right, yes. What you are seeing at the moment, this is me, actually. A picture of me, not a particularly pleasing one, because I'd had, once again, 2 hours sleep, in a sauna. Basically, I've discovered that tents in Africa are basically saunas, and I'm actually sitting in one now, and yes, I'm a little bit wet. But anyway, we have got some of the guys here, and we're going to share some of their photographs with you, our professional photographers. And I'll tell you, you see the stuff that these guys do. And by the way, virtually all of the images you'll see us post, and I think we've already been posting some to the Slooh Facebook page and stuff like that. All of the photos have been taken out of the windows of these moving Jeeps, which is really quite difficult to do. Sorry, we've lost Bob, so I'm going to fill in here, because we haven't forgotten our special guest. He's been delayed. We are going to have him at the top of the hour. So we will certainly get our special guest on. Anyway, back to a little bit of the story. These professional photographers have been. I've taken some photos of these guys. They literally hang out the window of these 4x4s going over these incredibly rocky roads with one guy's got a camera worth $11,000. And the lens probably cost nearly that much as well. And this guy is hanging out of a Jeep window doing anything from 5 miles an hour up to 30, depending upon which driver you've got here. And it's bumping all over the place. And I've got some fantastic shots that we will share with you next week. In fact, it'll be before then, because I've had to focus on getting ready for the eclipse. But I'll put some of these together over the next couple of days and you can see them. These guys just are absolutely crazy, and how on earth they do it under those conditions. You see some of the photos that we'll share and some of the videos. They will astound you. They really are. And it really goes to show just what an adventure it is. And strangely, I was talking to some of the other group here, some of the Gloria Project people here, and then some of the Institute of Astrophysics of the Canary Islands who are here as well. They invited us here. And there were some people coming from America today, and they were flying in. They were flying in a fairly special aircraft that can land in this kind of bushland. And we were talking about it and saying, well, yeah, that's kind of easy. It costs a huge amount of money, but they haven't had the camaraderie or the adventure that we've all had coming here. And I tell you, I've met the biggest group of most interesting people I've ever met in one place in my life. Every single one of them here. And unfortunately, you know, I'm the main English speaker here, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here. And by the way, a special at eclipse time, which we told you actually is in, totality time is in now, 30 minutes time. Now, we are going to be showing the broadcast that I'm going to be doing for our Spanish partners here. So you'll actually see me. You're going to see the site in the background. You'll see whether there are clouds here. You'll see whether we can see the lake, the storm clouds, the dust storm, everything else. Some of the locals might be in the background as well. So we're going to stream that direct into our live show as well. And that's going to cover the 10 minutes of totality. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here. The main group here are mainly Spanish. We do have a Polish representative as well here, and we're basically doing it multilingually. So these guys have roped me in to do one short segment earlier where I had to leave our show, and we've got this major segment coming up at 25 past the hour, so that's just under half an hour's time. So that'll be fun to watch that. You'll still listen to us and stuff like that. And hopefully, if the clouds have cleared, we'll see some of the wonderful images of totality. Now, I've seen a partial eclipse before, but lots of people have said to me, look, there is just absolutely no comparison whatsoever between a partial eclipse and a total eclipse. And I think Bob's already explained quite a lot of this. Bob's been co-hosting the show if you're late joining us. But what happens for many years, for many decades, in fact it was a couple of 100 years, the only way that astronomers and solar science could study the outer atmospheres of the sun, the chromosphere especially, was during totality, because the rest of the time it's obviously we're blinded from it by the brightness of the sun's disk. But when that totality happens, it obscures. This is a total eclipse of the sun, so the moon totally covers the face of the sun, and what you see on the edges of that disk is we might see some purple solar flares firing off, and these things are going to be bigger than the Earth when you see them, and they're beautiful colors usually, and they go off in arcs because all of this hot material, all these hot particles that are being thrust out of the sun's nuclear reactions, they get caught up in the sun's huge magnetic field, and that magnetic field channels these hot particles into these enormous loops. And actually, when we see these loops, we've seen them on the live image that we saw a little bit earlier. We actually see them as sunspots when we look at them from above, and that's because they're kind of holes, they're kind of slightly cooler parts of the sun's surface. But the big thing that astronomers look forward to on eclipses is the corona. Now, the corona is this outer atmosphere of the sun, of this hot stream of particles firing out. Now, they've taken, I think it's thousands and possibly longer years, these particles to reach from the center of the sun, all right, where the nuclear reactions are going on, to the outside of the sun. But as soon as they reach the outside, That's what starts traveling at the speed of light. But they've taken ages, millennia, to actually reach the surface of the sun from the center of the sun. And it's these hot particles that are streaming out and forming this corona. And we are, I think Bob and Duncan maybe told you, we're at what's called solar maximum. And we have, by the way, we've still got cloud here, but we are still hopeful. And the guys are setting up their cameras again outside. So we are getting ready for this. Right, I've got to recap. I'm sorry, so much is going on here. The corona. The magnetic fields of the sun are so powerful. They travel huge distances beyond the sun's reach, and actually they affect the planets as well. But during the eclipse, we can see this beautiful, delicate outer atmosphere being channeled along the magnetic lines. And because we're at solar maximum, this peak of a linear cycle in activity on the sun, that's when all of those magnetic fields are strongest. So the corona, if we manage to see it today, should look absolutely stunning. So we are going to take a short break now before I invite my next guest in, who is the magnificent Mike Paluchi, who is the founder of Slooh. We will be back very shortly. This is Slooh.com, the community observatory. You can control our telescopes, don't forget, on the internet. So please check out Slooh.com and come and see what we get up to, because it's absolutely fantastic. We'll see you again very, very shortly, in a couple of minutes. Goodbye. Hello and welcome back to Slooh.com, the community observatory. We are here in Kenya. I'm in Kenya at the moment, following the total solar eclipse of the sun. And those of you who've been watching the broadcast so far, we've seen a great image of first contact, which is the first moment that the moon crosses the sun's path. But as promised, we have an extra special guest here because, as you heard, as Duncan Cop was saying, we want to get astronomy out to the masses. I'm very, very pleased to welcome Mike Paluchi, who is the founder of Slooh. Mike, thank you very much for joining us. Tell us, where are you at the moment?
Hey, Paul. Hey, Bob. It's great to be here. I've been watching the show from the top of the mountain in the Canary Islands at Tahiti at our observatory with our partners at the Institute of Astrophysics at the Canary Islands. This place is always lively, even though it is currently clouded out, quite a hellacious rainstorm, in fact. But I don't know if you can hear the noise behind me, but there's always people coming and going and working on something here. So, yeah, great to be here. And I understand you're going through quite an adventure there. What just happened, Paul? Fill me in.
Well, it was just at first contact, Mike. I was looking through the telescope and I just captured the first couple of images and those got up to the server. And somebody behind me said, "Hey, there's a sandstorm over there." And I turned around and said, "Yeah, it looks beautiful." And then got back onto my imaging. And then basically, Mike, all hell broke loose. This sandstorm just totally overcame. See, could you... Gracias. Sorry about that. It's actually started raining, would you believe? So somebody just brought my equipment in. Yeah, this enormous sandstorm blew over, and we're in tents and stuff like that. So I kind of jumped into the tent and carried on the live broadcast, Mike. But basically, everything was blown away. There was equipment, telescopes, tents, hoardings, tourists, everything was kind of flying by. But anyway, listen, we're here to talk to you because it's a very rare, unfortunately, a very rare occasion that we get to talk direct to you. Now, you founded Slooh, Mike, 10 years ago now, and I was talking earlier about our motivations for you sending me to Kenya, right, to photograph, live and broadcast live to the public. What was your motivation for starting Slooh all those years ago?
Well, it has been 10 years, and we launched, it was Christmas Day 2003. It's the official first flight of our telescopes from here in the Canary Islands. I'm actually here in the Canaries renewing our 10-year deal that we had with the Institute of Astrophysics. And we are going to sign a deal that extends our relationship through 2020 tomorrow, as a matter of fact. So it's very exciting to be renewing this partnership with them at this time where we have this tremendous public event that is obviously very difficult for people to see in person. And this is what Slooh is about, finding characters like you, Paul, who will go anywhere, fly anywhere at any time to provide a feed so that everybody can share in the wonder of what is going on right now. And, I originally started this to honor my dear friend Blake Wallens, who, was killed on 9/11 in the incident at the World Trade Center. And it is a goodwill mission to help people understand and relate to one another, find the commonality in man, and generally enlighten and let people gain a better understanding of mankind's relative position in the universe. And there is no greater way to do that than to put your eye to a telescope and get a sense of the wonder and the scope that is beyond Earth. And I think in a lot of ways helps people put things in perspective, and put even things as broad as the human race in perspective. It's a shame that the light pollution of perhaps mankind's greatest achievement, our cities, in fact, even drowns out the light of outer space. We can't really see it as well as we could have a few thousand years ago. So I think it's important for us to work at finding other ways to make this connection for people, so that they can, continue to kind of celebrate the incredible body of knowledge we've been gaining over these hundreds of years about what is out there.
Mike, that's lovely, to hear that direct from you. I mean, Bob and I, when we do the live shows, we try and explain to people what Slooh is and the motivations behind it. And that was so eloquent. That was just such a lovely explanation of why you started Slooh, founded Slooh this 10 years ago. And we've had a wonderful group of members for all of that time from all around the world using the telescopes that you've put there on Tedy. And what fantastic news this is that you've confirmed that tomorrow we've recommitted to that wonderful site that the Institute of the Astrophysics in the Canary Islands manages on our behalf. And I'm actually here with the site director as well, and we've hid like a house on fire, so that's been great. Mike, before we let you go, because you were so eloquent in that really does sum it up. Can you just tell us briefly why you and I met for the first time only a month ago in Houston at NASA?
Oh, that's a very good question. I'm not sure it's in anybody's management handbook to not ever meet the people involved in your organization for 8 years or 9 years, but I have created a tremendous amount of goodwill for Slooh in telling everybody the story that you and I just met, and here we've been committed to this thing for all the right reasons, and all I ever really needed to know was that our interests were aligned, that we believed in it for the same reasons, and I always knew through your commitment, your actions were all that mattered to me, jumping all over the world to administer this equipment. Hey, the idea of you and I actually hanging out and meeting, that was a luxury that we couldn't afford. But fortunately, NASA invited us to that event last month, and Paul and I got a chance to hang out in person. And I tell you, it was like finding a long-lost brother, just full of good tales and goodwill and good times. So we're going to have to do it again before 8 more years, Paul. I promise you that.
We will, definitely, for sure.
I just want to throw out one more thing. To the Institute of Astrophysics, where I'm sitting right now, this, just incredible facility. And just, within the context of talking about how we've been invited to NASA recently to participate in a program that will try to engage the public in public-private partnerships. It's, I think, an admission from NASA and other government institutions that they need to look a little bit wider and broader than they have in the past and figure out how to work with industry. I think everybody's excited about the things that Elon Musk and others have achieved in showing that this can come from all quarters. And I'm reminded that 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when I went around trying to find an institution that would host Slooh as a commercial entity, I was turned down in Chile by my own people, the Americans that controlled some observatories down there, as well as in Hawaii. Yeah. But it was the Institute of Astrophysics here in the Canary Islands that had the vision for what a public-private partnership can be. And as all of these important projects that both NASA and the Institute here and ESO and everybody else is working on they're going to have a harder and harder time getting public money to do the things they do. And they're going to have to figure out how to expand through private partnership. And we are excited that we're going to build on our private partnership with them. And, you know, even being here for a few days, there's a lot of exciting ideas about what else we can do. So that's that. You guys should get back to the eclipse. And I will go back
That's
to...
great, Mike. And absolutely enjoying yourself up at the observatory in the clouds, though. But I have to add to that, Mike. I've had the privilege over the years of not only working with you guys, but the people at the Institute of Astrophysics at the Mount Teide Observatory have been so supportive of what we've been doing. So anyway, on that note, Mike, thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your visit at the observatory. We'll catch up later, and we'll also be talking about the reconvened Near-Earth Asteroid Workshop at NASA, which we've been invited back to. So, Mike, thank you very much. Have you got any words for the viewers today?
My parting words are, when are we going to get an updated image on this eclipse? I'm representing the audience and saying I've been looking at the same image for a while. So what's happening there?
Right. Well, in our next section, I am hopping out of my tent now to give a live video broadcast, which we're showing I think it will start at 20 minutes past the hour, so I have to dash out now, and we will explain all then, Mike. So watch this space.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. Great work. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Michael. Right, that was Mike Paluchi, founder of Slooh. He started this company 10 years ago. You can control the telescopes that he has put on top of a volcano at a world-class observatory site. It is that fun. The community spirit is great. But listen, I have to go now. We are going to take a short kind of break just for 2 minutes. In fact, I'm going to hand you over to Bob Berman before we switch to the live video cast of me here in Kenya for the update. Bob, it's over to you.
Okay, this is Slooh. I'm Bob Berman with our continuing live coverage of the 2013 total solar eclipse from Kenya. Paul Cox is there, and he has been battling sandstorms, rain, some clear stretches, images that he's sending. Will the total, which is coming up, will the total phase of the eclipse, will totality be in the clear? Will we see the sun's atmosphere, its corona, leap across the sky as it follows the still mysterious field lines of the sun's magnetosphere? Will we see those pink geysers of nuclear flame shoot from the sun's edge and stars come out in the daytime and the crocodiles scurry away? And will all that happen? We will see. Paul is there. We're approaching the moment of totality, and he's going to bring some live video. I don't know what we're going to... this eclipse track started out in steamy central western Africa, a minute and a half long, but overcast skies. It was a partial eclipse over Europe. Okay, partial. That's just an okay eclipse. And then it ran eastward across Africa towards Kenya, where it would become total. And that's the part that we care about, because that's where all the goodies happen. And we are awaiting Paul's account. And Paul, I'll be wanting you to interrupt me at any moment as soon as you have something to show us or some update as we approach the moment of totality in Africa. It's only 12 seconds of totality. 12 seconds! That's less totality than it will take me to just complete this sentence, for goodness sake. And during those 12 seconds, we're going to see the sun's atmosphere, the prominences, all sorts of amazing things that only happen in totality. There will be no total eclipses anywhere on Earth next year. The year after, 2015, the moon shadow will cross the equally cloudy North Atlantic Ocean. This is almost like become a depressing planet. I hope these people, these eclipse trackers, brought plenty of Maalox and antidepressants and things like that, because these things are frustrating events. But somebody's got to do it to bring these live images to our many, many viewers around the world who are awaiting totality because of all the events in nature. What are the great events? An exploding meteor. How about that? I'm here in Chile. And last night, our group who have come to observe Comet Ison saw a bolide, an exploding meteor rip across the Chilean skies. All right, that counts. A great display of the aurora borealis. That counts. A great comet, like we hope Comet Ison will be. Nobody knows yet. We will bring you that here at Slooh as well. But foremost among them all, just speak to any astronomer or even casual person or anybody who's seen totality will say that that's the greatest event of nature. Skeptics or people who've never seen one will say, hey, I've seen nice things. I saw rainbows in the Grand Canyon. I saw the birth of my child or something like that. Watching a human birth, that's nothing compared to a solar totality. This is the best. But will we get it? Will there be clouds, rain, sandstorms, crocodiles? He's in the biggest crocodile area of the world. Will Paul even make it out of his tent to the telescopes to bring us this eclipse? We are going to find out, because any moment we're going to get an update from Paul. I want him to interrupt me here as I narrate this from Chile. This is a multi-continent effort. We just heard from the founder of Slooh, Michael Paluchi, who's on the Canary Islands, which off the coast of Africa. We've got Paul Cox in Kenya. We have our producer in Connecticut. We have just been speaking in the last hour with Dr. Duncan Cop in Houston. He's British, so and I'm standing here, I'm Bob Berman here in Chile, all to bring you this total solar eclipse of the sun. These are so great. I'm partially here because I've led expeditions to see 8, so I can testify firsthand that there is just really nothing like them. This isn't hype. People always tell you about a great movie. Hey, you gotta see that. And then you go, and half the time it's been built up too much and it doesn't live up to expectations. But a total solar eclipse always does. Well, I'm wondering myself, as we're standing by waiting for Paul's video images of totality, we're really counting down now to the final minutes and seconds before these 12 seconds of totality. What have we got? Can you give us an update, Paul? Okay, so we're actually looking at Paul right now live on camera. And what kind of conditions? Let me see if I can get an update from our studio in the United States. Michael, can you tell me what's going on? Okay, so we have an optimistic situation here. After battling rain and sandstorms, I'm not making this stuff up, after they've traveled for days and slept outdoors and he skipped breakfast. I heard that earlier in the show. All right, I'm being a little facetious here, but the point is, right now, it looks like the conditions are good. And Paul, he's not just going to be on camera and, fail to bring you the images of totality. That's what he's doing right now. So we are all awaiting this. This is the only eclipse this year. Next year, there are none anywhere. The year after, it's a gloomy prediction. The year after, there is a totality that sweeps about 1,000 miles off the coast of Hawaii after first coming through places like Borneo and Sumatra, which is also overcast. Oh, the world's in the middle of difficult eclipses. And then finally, we have the August 21st, 2017 totality that will cross the mainland of the United States. And that eclipse path will sweep from Oregon right to the Carolinas and every place in between. So that'll make things a little easier in terms of convenience. Right now, we're kind of in an inconvenient place. Let me see if I can stand by and get an update to pass on to you. Michael, what is the update right now? Okay, so we are looking at a live feed of the partial eclipse leading up to the total eclipse. This is the technical group. These are the astronomers of the Gloria project, which Slooh has become allied with. Paul Cox has traveled with them in Range Rovers, fording streams, all sorts of things, and set up in this location in Kenya. Why Kenya? Because the place where the eclipse in Africa was going to be longest, that is 1.5 minutes, still not a very long eclipse. Totality can last as long as 7 minutes, although we will not have a 7-minute totality anytime this century. We will have, however, totalities of about 6.5 minutes, including one on August 12th, 2045, of almost 6.5 minutes. That will be in the United States. So just keep eating those health foods, work out on the gym, and stay in good shape. And hopefully you'll see that one. 6.5 minutes. Not this time. This was 1.5 minutes at best, and that was when it hit Western Africa, where it was almost certain to be gloomy and overcast. So as the eclipse shadow, which tapers like an ice cream cone, narrower and narrower, until it only covers, in this case, a few dozen miles of width, headed eastward, it went across Kenya, where the chances, we're talking about statistically, climatologically, where the chances grew to as much as 50-50. This is where Slooh has gone. This is where Paul Cox is looking for totality. This is his first total eclipse of the sun, although an experienced astronomer, like many, perhaps most, he's never been to a total eclipse of the sun. Most people haven't. Is it totality right now? I believe it is. I believe we are where. Okay, so we have some clouds, and the question is, will there be enough breaks as Paul watches this part of the eclipse? With 12 seconds, you don't have a lot of wiggle room. The eclipse that, I led an expedition for Slooh last November 13th, in Port Arthur, Australia, near Cairns. There was a 2-minute totality with a similar 50-50 chance of seeing it through partially cloudy, partially clear skies. The sun came and went, and we managed to see 1.5 minutes of the 2-minute totality. Well, that's pretty good. Seeing 1.5 minutes, observing that, counts as a success. But here we've only got 12 seconds of totality. So if the sun is behind the clouds during those 12 seconds, well, that's that. And a lot of time and expense and preparation were spent for that. We still, of course, no matter what happens, we have the excitement, we have the partial phases, and all the rest. But I don't even think Paul would put on a happy face if during those precious 12 seconds the sun happened to be behind a cloud. Fred Espenak, the famed eclipse predictor for NASA, once told me that in Africa, same continent, he once ran at full breakneck speed along a little road to try to keep the sun in a small hole between clouds, and succeeded by running as fast as he could, running as fast as the clouds were moving. He was able to see the total eclipse. That's how desperate people will get to see it. So as we watch now, I'm hearing what the latest is. Going to get a report from our studios right now. Okay, is Paul broadcasting it? Are we broadcasting Paul at the moment? Okay, so I'm not live. Okay, so great, and the result? I see. So we're going to get a report back from Paul in a few moments. Shall we take a break, or shall I continue here? Because I'm looking for an update on what's going on just as you are. This is Bob Berman. I'm in Chile for Slooh. We're actually setting up for a Comet ISON show. Paul Cox is in Kenya, and the studios that's being put together, this intercontinental broadcast, are in Connecticut. Okay, and we're going to pause for a little station identification. This is Bob Berman for Slooh. Welcome back to our Slooh Live 2013 Eclipse. I'm Bob Berman. I'm broadcasting here from Chile, where we've been chasing Comet ISON, but the total eclipse of the sun in Kenya has just occurred. Certainly the partial phases are still underway. I believe images were actually captured. Paul Cox, our Slooh person there, certainly was weepy afterwards. So he's either weepy because he's just wasted the last month of his life, or he's weepy because he's touched by what he's just seen. Which was it, Paul?
Absolutely the latter, Bob. So I understand that we were able to show the video, but we didn't have the audio. Now, we will post that section of the broadcast again so that you can hear the commentary on it, because once again, just as first contact Bob started and suddenly we get this major sandstorm coming in, you see the skies here. You would have seen it, hopefully, in the background images. Actually, I'm just going to, excuse me, I'm asking my producer, was it visible in the webcam image of the broadcast? Right, the sky darkened, I'm being told. So we couldn't see any detail, but what we've got here is we had to pack all of the equipment away, Bob, which was trained on the sun. But thankfully, we've got here some of the best professional astronomers in the world, and they have all their handheld cameras, and they work brilliantly to capture this kind of surprise moment. The clouds just parted. I mean, Bob, I'm looking out now, and the sky is totally grey except for the area close to the sun, and we've got, it's still poking through. And just at totality, Bob, literally just at totality, the clouds thinned just enough to see it.
And so this was your first totality. What was your impression? Tell everybody.
Absolutely amazing.
It sounds like he's very weepy. Now, it's not because he's a girly man, folks. It's because the...
I am. No, it's sad as well, man. It's sad as well. It was. I mean, I was facing the camera, so I wasn't seeing it in its full glory, but there was just something about it. I mean, whether or not it's having about 6 hours sleep in the last week or not, I'm sure that contributes to it. But there was something. It was alien, Bob. It was like nothing else I've seen.
Yes, please do.
Well, hey, listen, we are going to, in fact, I'm just going to ask my producer, because we're going to show you this section of video with the audio. I'm just going to ask my producer, excuse me, whether or not he's ready to show that now. Right, we are going to go to a very short break, and then we're going to replay that so you can actually hear everybody. I mean, it was just amazing, Bob. I mean, you've been to, how many total eclipses have you seen, Bob?
7.
7. I mean, you've seen this stuff before, and the reaction in people, but it was just absolutely amazing, and we are going to bring that to you very shortly after this break, so you'll see exactly what happened live with audio. You saw the video, but you're going to hear the audio as well. So we're going to take a short break. This is Slooh.com Community Observatory at the total eclipse of the sun in Kenya. We will be right back. Bob and I will be right back after we play back that segment. So goodbye for now. Come back. I'll clear the tissues away and pull myself together, maybe have a few hours sleep, and we'll be back with you very shortly anyway. So see you soon. Bye-bye. That was absolutely stunning because seeing an image of it doesn't do that justice. You know, it was so dynamic, so short. But the most dramatic period of time I think I've spent for a very long time. We just had first contact. We're here with the Gloria project and we had first contact. First moment the moon crosses the sun. And just at that point, somebody shouted, "There's a dust storm!" And suddenly there was this cataclysmic dust storm that blew in right over all of us. So we managed to capture a few images, but to bring you up to date now, we are just a couple of minutes away from totality. And totality, as you can see, hopefully you can see the sun where it's just trying to come through the clouds. Now, don't forget, you can see all of the information here on the Gloria website. And I just want to say a very quick moment here of the people who have helped to make this possible. Huge thanks to Gloria's streaming partners. We've got Sister Magic. They're an IT company who specialize in IPTV solutions and embedded systems. And they've helped the Gloria team to do this, as well as Canary Clouds. And they're a cloud-based company for content delivery, and they've helped us do this. So anyway, I am going to hand over to you now to Miguel Sierra Ricar from the Institute of Astrophysics in Canary Islands, who's part of the Gloria project.
Buenas tardes. Hemos estado a puntito. Hemos visto la primera mordida de la Luna hace aproximadamente una hora. De hecho, hay imágenes en la web de Gloria, en la parte de imágenes estáticas, pero ha sido increíble. Es mi 11º eclipse y nunca había visto algo igual. Hemos visto una columna de polvo que se acercaba hacia nosotros. Pensábamos que era un coche, no era un coche, era una gran tormenta de polvo, de lluvia. Nos ha tirado todo, nuestros telescopios, y bueno, ha sido imposible continuar tomando imágenes. Pero justo ahora es posible que se pueda ver la oscuridad. No tenemos los telescopios operativos. Bueno, vamos a ver lo que pasa. Agradecer tanto al proyecto Gloria, a todos los socios del proyecto Gloria, a nuestros socios en la retransmisión, Systematic y Canal Cloud. Y bueno, esperemos que la próxima vez tengamos un poquito más de suerte. Hemos hecho todo lo que estaba en nuestras manos para poder ver el eclipse. Ahora os presento a Liliana, que se encargará de informar en polaco.
Dzień dobry, mówi Liliana Trzpil z Kenii. Niedługo będzie całkowite zaćmienie, zostało 1,5 minuty. Niestety są chmury, pada deszcz, dlatego jestem w ubranku przeciwdeszczowym. Także jest dziura w chmurach i jest szansa, że je zobaczymy. Bardzo ryzykowne, nie wiadomo czy będzie, czy nie będzie. Całkowite zaćmienie jest wtedy, kiedy ciało Księżyca przesuwa się przed Słońcem i całkowicie je zakrywa. Szerokość Księżyca jest zbliżona do szerokości Słońca, tak jak widzimy na niebie, i dlatego jest to możliwe. Bardzo jest to widowiskowe zjawisko. Na niebie pojawia się czarna kulka, która świeci, to jest bardzo niezwykłe, a dookoła jest płonący horyzont. Dzisiaj z powodu chmur nie będzie płonącego horyzontu. Nie wiadomo, czy będzie czarna kulka. Cały czas trzeba trzymać kciuki, żeby była dziurka w chmurach. Kenia normalnie jest sucha. Tutaj pora deszczowa występuje dosyć rzadko o tej porze roku i mam szczęście z dziurą.
Hello and welcome back. It's Paul Cox again. We are very, very close to totality. I think I just heard the shout saying 1 minute. Now, we were hoping to bring you some live images of this, but you can see it in the background. Because of the dust storm, we had to drag all of our equipment in, and people were hanging onto tents and all over the place. It was amazing. It was one of the most exciting things most of us have been involved with. But now is the time, and I'm going to talk. Naturally, I started talking quietly because suddenly it's going dark. And it's not a normal kind of dark. This is one of the most eerie. Wow. Totality is just seconds away, and it's suddenly gone darker, darker, darker. This is absolutely amazing, even through the clouds. Now we're taking photos now of this, and we'll share them with you. There's totality, and it still looks wonderful through the clouds. It is spectacular. That's amazing. And there's the diamond ring. The diamond ring did bang, and the sun just came out in time for us to witness totality. I'm sorry. I'm emotional. That was amazing. After the trip that we've been through, and the shadow is finally going away. Sorry, I ran away from the camera. I'm going to stay with you. I'm going to stay with you for the end of this. It was the most amazing thing. The sun is back out again now. Totality lasting just 14 seconds here. And I reckon we got to see half of that. Absolutely amazing. Now then, I've got to catch my breath. So our next person who is coming on actually has run off to see something else. But we weren't able, you can see in the webcam here, the sun has come back out again, and we witnessed totality here. It was stunning. After everything we've been through, we saw first contact. Yeah, I'm just being told that we're going to be putting pictures of this on the Gloria Project website as soon as we can after this broadcast finishes, because we weren't able to bring them to you live because we had to put the cameras away. But our professional photographers have been here, and they are some of the best astrophotographers in the world. Their pictures will blow your socks off, even through those clouds. We saw totality. What a wonderful experience that was. My guest is still actually enjoying the event, so I'm going to carry on talking to you. What happened here, just to catch up, if you weren't watching earlier, this is the Gloria Project. It's a live broadcast. I'm Paul Cox from Slooh.com, and this is the live broadcast of the Kenya total eclipse. Now, the partial phase is still going on behind us, so those of us who are here are going to be lucky enough to carry on seeing this. We are going to have a word from Miguel Sierra Rica from the Institute of Astrophysics and the Gloria Project. Miguel.
Thank you, Paul. At the end, al final, hemos visto algo. Siento muchísimo no haber tenido las cámaras, pero era imposible volver a poner de pie todo el equipo. Ha sido mi error, pero les prometemos que nos vamos a poner ahora a trabajar, porque desde dentro de las tiendas hemos podido tomar imágenes un poquito de esa corona. Ha sido impresionante porque, claro, con las nubes se han formado unos rayos coronales que han sido, muy interesantes. A ver, no hemos visto la totalidad, pero al final las nubes nos han dejado ver un poquito de la corona. Nada más, agradecer otra vez a todo el proyecto Gloria, agradecer a todos nuestros socios y agradecer a Paco, Francisco Sánchez, que ha sido un poco el líder y la persona que ha coordinado. Se ha olvidado de la cuenta atrás, no se lo vamos a perdonar, pero
Hello and welcome back for the last kind of 10-minute roundup. I'm Paul Cox. This is Slooh.com, the community observatory. What that means is you can control telescopes at a world-class observing site and take fantastic astro images. Now, I'm sitting here in front of a lot of very, very happy people because they've just witnessed totality in Kenya. We're by Lake Turkana. There are 16 of us here from the Gloria project, from the Institute of Astrophysics in the Canary Islands, Slooh's partners there, and we have had one hell of a week. We really have. And when I say one hell of a week, I mean a fantastic experience. It started off with some horrendously long flights from London to Madrid, to Istanbul, to Nairobi, and then 3 days cross country in Nairobi. And anybody who's been to Africa, yes, those roads are still as rocky and as bumpy and as dusty. But I suspect when you were doing it, you weren't carrying thousands and thousands of dollars worth of expensive astronomical equipment and cameras. And that's what we were all doing. But it was still a fantastic experience. We've had a few hours a night's sleep, if that, over the last little while. The team in front of me are having their group photographs taken. They're looking very happy with themselves. In fact, they've all got mugs of wine. But I notice I haven't got one, so obviously I've done something wrong. But anyway, back to the story of what we've been doing over the last few hours. Slooh.com, we are passionate about taking astronomy to the general public, and we are a commercial company, no bones about it. And you can join Slooh to control the robotic telescopes. You can also use our iPad app, but we do this because we are passionate about trying to get science and astronomy and technology into schools, into kids' heads, instead of Grand Theft Auto or anything else, and to anybody else who has a passing interest in space or astronomy. So what we've been doing, we have traveled thousands and thousands of miles with a very, very special group of people here. They really are, without exception, a superb group of professionals, highly experienced, everybody experienced in their own field. So it's been an absolute pleasure to meet every single one of them. And I must say, all of these guys, they have one person doing one thing, they have one person doing another, they have one person operating a telescope. I come out here on my own, and I usually have to do all of this stuff. I have to be looking after the telescope, I have to be getting live images, I have to be broadcasting, and I love it. I'm not complaining, but I'm only saying that because these guys have been so generous. The people from the Gloria Project, the people from the Institute of Astrophysics in the Canary Islands have all been so supportive of me over this week. So a big thank you to all of the people at those institutions. Anyway, we got here late night, too dark to set up the equipment. This is our final destination at Lake Turkana. I told you it's got the largest population of Nile crocodiles in it. I think I might take a walk down there just to see the last vestige of the sun drop as it sets behind Lake Turkana. Let's see if I can spot one of those crocodiles. So this may be my last live broadcast. Now, I know some of you will be cheering at that thought, but I won't, because I absolutely love doing this stuff. I really hope you enjoy it. You cannot replace seeing some of these things with your own eyes. But if you haven't got the option, then frankly, hopefully, we provide you with something else. Now, I didn't actually see this properly today because I'm not here, like a lot of the people here, to witness my first total eclipse of the sun. I was here to get you images of that, and preferably live. Now, we had to pack the telescopes away because if you remember, we had that horrendous sandstorm come over just as the moon started going over the face of the sun, and that was first contact, and we got you a couple of live images at that point. But then the sandstorm blew over, so we had to pack up all of the equipment, so we couldn't get you live images. But just as totality happened, you will have seen, we've replayed you now, that audio. It was the most emotional experience I've had in kind of watching the natural world or astronomy or anything like that. You know, it was a stunning experience. Now, if you get the chance to witness a total solar eclipse of the sun, you have to go to it. Don't forget, virtually everybody in the United States will be within a car's drive of a total solar eclipse in 2017. But for everybody else who can't get to a solar eclipse, we will bring them to you. I believe the next one, we've already arranged it. We've been talking about it this week, is in Greenland. But we bring you all of the exciting astronomical events. And actually, before I forget, I must tell you, we have captured some fantastic images here, and we're going to upload those to the slooh.com website in the next couple of hours. It may be a few hours. We've got to process them and stuff like that. These are the images that the professional guys here took, and I tell you, even with the clouds, even with everything going against it, they will knock your socks off. But anyway, we will be bringing you lots more live events. Our biggest thing probably from now until Christmas is, you might hear the wine's going down, so it's getting a bit more raucous here. I'm going to go and get myself a glass, actually a bottle in a minute, I think. Anyway, the next big thing is Comet Ison. This is the thing that could be the great comet. But, you know, we've been monitoring it. Slooh members watch this. They image it every single night. They point the Slooh telescopes to Comet Ison every morning as it rises before dawn. And they've been capturing some fantastic images, and we're going to be bringing you live updates every single week of Comet Ison as it makes its close approach to the sun. Will it survive? Will it survive its slingshot around the sun? We don't know. We can never tell what comets are going to do. Is it going to be a great comet? We don't know. But one thing's for sure, Slooh.com are going to be there, and we'll bring it to your laptop. So you don't have to go hiking to the top of a mountain and buy thousands of dollars worth of equipment to actually image these things themselves. You can watch our live shows, or you can join Slooh and control those same telescopes yourself. Listen, we've been going on far too long. Thank you very much to all of you around the world who have made it this far through. You know, we were expecting, what Slooh is good at is bringing you live images, one after the other, one every minute, bang, 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 bang. This hasn't turned out to be one of those events, but actually I think it's been one of the most exciting broadcasts we've done, and we have had some feedback, and I think there's a few people out there who have quite enjoyed it as well. Gosh, that sandstorm really kind of made this a story. So thank you to all of you who have stuck with us this long. I'm Paul Cox. This has been Slooh.com in Kenya for the total solar eclipse of the sun. Keep checking back Slooh.com this evening or later on today will have those fantastic images of totality. I'm sorry we couldn't bring them to you live, but you will have them, and keep watching the Slooh.com homepage for new live shows, and come and see Comet Ison with me. That's going to be a fabulous thing to watch. Anyway, thank you very much. This is all from Slooh. Thank you for the Gloria project here, the people at IAC, the Institute of Astrophysics at the Canary Islands. Thank you especially to Michael Wilson, our producer for this spectacular long marathon show. Michael we should have been working together all week preparing this show, but we've had all sorts of communications failures with satellite links and all manner of things. So Michael has basically just put this whole thing together from Connecticut on his own. He's arranged getting all the guests in and stuff like that, all of the feeds that we have had. He's done a glorious job. Thank you very much, Michael. He won't be able to say anything because we never allow him on the shows, even though I didn't encourage him to say. Anyway, this is Paul Cox, Slooh.com, the Kenya total eclipse of the sun. We'll see you very soon for the next fantastic celestial event. Goodbye for now. Goodbye, everybody.